Good evening. I'd like to call to order the August 3rd public hearing for the City of Tampa's Architectural Review Commission. Welcome, everyone. My name is Zachary Greco, Chair of the Commission. If you're here to present a project, you will have limited time to make your presentation, so we suggest being thorough but concise. When coming to the microphone, you will need to identify yourself and your relationship to the project. Commissioners will not ask any questions during your presentation. Your project should be presented in the following order: site plans, elevations, architectural details, and wall sections. Staff will then present the staff report, and we will then ask the public for comment. Following your presentation, the commissioners will be asking questions in the same order as the presentation. Please state and spell your name clearly if you are here to speak either for or against a project. Your time will be limited to 3 minutes, so take some time now to summarize your comments, because 3 minutes go by very quickly. Following public comment, the applicant will have 5 minutes for rebuttal. The public hearing will then be closed. The only comments which will be allowed after the public hearing is closed will be in response to any questions from the commissioners. Commissioners will then discuss the case and will make their decision based on the City Ordinance, Chapter 27 of the City Zoning Code, the design guidelines, the Secretary of the Interior standards, Historic Preservation Development Review, HPDRC comments, and the testimony given at this public hearing. The ARC can only act on items that are within our specific jurisdictional responsibilities. Owners and agents are independently responsible to obtain any appropriate permits and/or approvals. If you haven't already done so, please silence all cell phones. And at this point, I'll start with the introduction of my commissioners, starting on my left.
Good evening. My name is Stephen Sutton. I'm a registered architect. I hold the architectural historian chair.
Shauna Boyd, interior designer.
Amber Dickerson, urban planner.
Ashley DeCubis, an attorney.
We're also joined tonight by city staff, Ron Vila, Elaine Lund, Beverly Jewisak, and city attorney or assistant attorney Kamaria Pettis-Mackle. All right. At this point, would anyone like to make a motion for the meetings from the July public hearings?
I move to approve the meeting minutes from July 8th and July 13th, 2020.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Ron Vilo, staff for Historic Preservation, and thank you for your attendance this evening. Under announcements, we are having a public hearing on August 5th, which is Wednesday in this room. We have a full agenda. We have 5 cases. And then also under announcements, in each of your packets, we have the staff reviews. Is a condensed version of what we do administratively so you can stay on task with how busy we are. Moving to the ex parte communication and conflicts of interest, I'm going to delegate to our legal advisor.
Good evening, Kamaria Pettis-Mackle from the City Attorney's Office. At this time, do any of the board members have any conflicts of interest regarding any of the items that are listed on the agenda this evening?
No, ma'am.
No.
I do not.
Thank you. Additionally, have any of the commissioners had any ex parte communications regarding any of the items that are listed on the agenda?
No.
No,
I do
ma'am.
not.
Thank you.
So moving down the agenda, we're ready for the swearing. There are no continuations reflected on our agenda. At this time, everybody that wishes to testify, please stand up and raise your right hand. Ms. Juzak will swear us in. I do. Moving to the first agenda item, which is ARC 20-171. This is for the address of 1103 South Rome Avenue. This is in the Hyde Park Historic District. The request in front of you this evening is for a single-family residence and for an accessory structure. The zoning classification is RS60. Just some housekeeping, some past action, that there was a non-contributing structure located at this site, and it was received demolition on 12 December 03 of 19. Also moving forward and preparing the grounds that the owners seeked a design exception for the north side yards setback from 7 foot to 6 foot. That is an administrative function that is delegated to the land development zoning administrator. And in working with preservation, that was granted early 2020. Additionally, in June, the agent requested some variances attached to this parcel. There were 3 variances that were reviewed and denied at that time. So in front of you this evening, there are no variances attached to the request. Moving to the photo essay. This is an overhead shot showing the property in question, highlighted in the green box. Does face Rome Avenue, which runs north and south. To the north, you have Richardson, and there is no alley access to this property. It's an internal site. This is looking at the Sanborn map. Once again, the property in question is in the green. Does face Rome Avenue. Once again, as a point of reference, you have Richardson to the north, and at that time, there was no alley either. So no alley access to the block of structures that flank the parcel. As I mentioned, there was a non-contributing structure there. This is looking off of Rome Avenue. Property to the north is also a non-contributing structure. And looking to the south, this is constructed in 2000. This is also a non-contributing structure, but it was reviewed by this board and received approval. As you look directly across the street from the subject site, this is Rome and Richardson, the intersection. And just some street shots. This is looking back into the village, Hyde Park Village, looking to the north. You see the density in the cars, how they parallel park on Rome. And this is obviously looking back towards Bayshore Boulevard. Before we get started, this is a contemporary style structure, and reading from the guidelines from page 61. It touches upon design of compatible new construction. The major development in Hyde Park Historic District extended from the late 1880s through the mid-1920s. Just as Hyde Park includes a diverse style of architectural set of guidelines reflecting the evolving architecture throughout each of the 4 decades, architecture is an art that continues to evolve. Construction of new buildings within the Hyde Park Historic District can have a positive revitalization impact on the district if steps are taken to ensure that the historic, architectural, and cultural features of the district are preserved and enhanced. The focus of these guidelines is on the compatibility of new construction with the existing character of the neighborhood. And then to conclude with a paragraph, talks about these guidelines do not dictate style, but they set up criteria under which the new design can be accurately compared to the setting in the historic district. New construction is encouraged to be unique in design while reflecting the basic scale, massing, materials, and quality found in the early buildings in Hyde Park. These are the criteria for compatible design also. There's 10 criteria here, and these are also reflected in your staff report. And the agent in working with staff will go through each of these items this evening. At this time, I'll delegate it to the agent.
Good evening. My name is John Keener with Keener Architecture. I'm the agent this evening, acting on behalf of the owners. We are presenting a case for a redesigned certificate of appropriateness for the house at 1103 South Rome. Check. Okay. Thank you for your time this evening. The house that we are presenting to you is a contemporary style. What we hope to demonstrate in the presentation this evening is that we do meet the criteria of Hyde Park design guidelines. We took the design that was denied with the variances, and we tucked and pulled and redesigned the front facade so that we could comply with all of the zoning criteria, so we're not requesting any variances this evening. One of the major changes from the previous design that you guys saw in June is that we took away the porte-cochere and we redesigned the front roof. We now have a metal-clad canopy with a tongue and groove soffit on the underside, so we're representing that across the front rather than a larger front porch that we previously showed. So this is the house as you move around from Rome Avenue coming to the south, so you're looking towards the north. It is a 3-story structure in places, but it steps up from the street into the larger massing is in the inward on the site. This is looking at the south elevation. This is a view of the two-story accessory structure in the rear. It's not 2-story as far as actual living level. It's just a 2-story volume, so we can use it for storage and vehicular parking. This is looking towards the southern, or looking to the south of the northern elevations. Again, the north east corner, in the front of the home. Again, a lower human view from the street, and then looking directly at the house from the front. As Ron had pointed out, the site is located along Rome Avenue. According to the Sanborn map, there's no contributing structures to the property, as well as to the property to the north and south. Just for context, our property is located closer to Bayshore Boulevard. Hyde Park Village is to the north. Rome Avenue. This is the Selman Expressway and South Howard Avenue. Looking towards Bayshore from the center of Rome in front of our house. Looking to the north towards Hyde Park Village. The property to the north of us is a non-contributing ranch house with about a 35-foot front setback because of the large tree in front. The remainder of the homes along Rome Avenue have a 25-foot front setback. Our new design now has a 25-foot front setback. We're observing the 25-foot front setback. This is the property to the south. It's a postmodern style, approved, as Ron said, in 2000. This is a newer construction, just completed the beginning of this year at 1107 South Rome. This was presented as a contemporary design. Things to note on this is that it has plinths that project out in front of the 25-foot front setback for a front porch, as well as the 3-story element along Rome Avenue. To the south of that, at 1109 South Rome, there's a neoclassical, newer construction, front-facing garage. And then along Bayshore Boulevard and Rome Avenue, there's a large Mediterranean Revival style home. Again, also has a 3-story volume on the front facade. The purpose of presenting those to you is not only to show, I think, a very style of home along Rome Avenue, but also to reinforce that there is a larger scale along Rome Avenue. I think that the homes and the massing tend to grow a little bit. It's not the traditional bungalow or traditional street of Hyde Park. Rome Avenue has, starting with Hyde Park Village, has modern style, has very traditional styles, and then newer construction, so it's not the typical street frontage. One of the important things when addressing the scale and the massing is to look at that facade. Starting at the corner of Hills and Rome Avenue, there's a relatively newer construction, 4-story multifamily project. And then across the street on 1011 South Rome, there's a 2.5-story Victorian-style structure. To the south of that is a one-story Mediterranean Revival style. Well, it's actually two-story, but one story in the front. And then the project that we're proposing today has a three-story massing in the front, but is a two-story mass and that steps back to the three-story. 1107 South Rome is a large new construction with three-story massing in the front. I thought this is one of the more important slides to show that context together. It really helps emphasize that there is a variation of styles and sort of an eclectic nature of architecture along Rome, as well as fairly tall massing. Here's just some examples that have been approved in Hyde Park of other contemporary construction. These are all newer within the last 20 years. But show also the very similar style that has been approved in the past. And I think they also add to they enhance the neighborhood. I don't think they take anything away from the style of homes that are traditionally found in Hyde Park. Albeit this is a commercial structure in Hyde Park. It has similar nature of style that we're presenting, clean white stucco, metal detailing, and then also taller volumes addressing the street. Hyde Park Village, north on Rome Avenue, really sets the tone for contemporary style. This has all been renovated, as we all know, fairly recently, and I think that it shows that contemporary construction is compatible with the fabric of Hyde Park. More specifically to our site, we did request a design exception earlier in the year to request a 1-foot side setback reduction on the north facade. The purpose for that request was to push the house to the north in order to allow enough room for a drive aisle to the rear detached accessory structure. We are proposing an attached open covered walkway between the garage and the rear porch in order to just provide shelter in rainstorms. We know summer rains are tough to deal with if you have groceries. So we do have a ribbon drive that comes in we have a concrete apron and a small landing spot, and then a ribbon drive that comes into a rear motor court that enters into the 2-car garage. We're proposing a rear pool, outdoor kitchen, and on the first floor, we really just have kitchen, living, and small office and circulation space. We'll get into details of site area calculations a little bit further, but essentially what this is showing is that we are meeting the criteria for stormwater retention and have a proposal for how to mitigate water flow from our site, and so it's not flowing into our neighbors. The first floor plan, as I mentioned, ribbon drive, smaller front porch than we presented at the last case, but we were very cognizant to make sure that we weren't asking for any variances. So we actually pulled the front facade back an additional 14 inches to allow for a deeper front porch. There is historically within Hyde Park, if anything under 30 inches is allowed to project into that front setback. So we are presenting a welcome wall and some steps that do encroach upon that, but that, again, is less than 30 inches, is not considered a portion of the buildable, or the structure that needs to comply with the setbacks. There's other examples, as we showed, especially at 1107 South Rome and 1109, or 1105 South Rome also have the same feature. We also were very adamant to respect, this line is showing the 20-foot building platted setback line that was discussed heavily in the variance meeting. We are also well off of that line, so we're not encroaching with any roof overhangs or anything. So just wanted to make sure that was clear. The second floor, it has a new metal kind of canopy that extends out as a roof overhang. We have a small Juliet-style balcony that comes off of the bedroom, but that's really just a smaller landing spot than what we showed on the previous design. The third floor is split between the master suite and then some roof terraces. We do have a covered portion towards the front that is a 3-story mass, but the remainder of the third floor is terrace and master suite. This is a roof plan. We are showing a mixture of low-slope metal roofing as well as a membrane roof system. So the front piece, which is shown, the front sort of porch on the terrace level, will have a low-slope membrane roof. It will step down to a metal low-sloped roof. Then we have a parapet-style construction with a membrane roof, and then on the rear portion, we have a hip-style low-slope roof. On the garage, we're also very similar in nature, a parapet style with a membrane roofing, and then a pitched metal roof. The front and rear elevations, again, it's a lot easier to read these in 3 dimensions, so that's why I presented that first, but you can see that the massing, we're showing an average site setback of 8.5 feet, or I'm sorry, not a setback, I'm sorry, average grade of 8.5 feet. That's averaged between a higher grade in the rear, which is almost 10 foot 8 inches, to where we're at the street, where we're closer to 6.5 feet. I'm sorry, 10 foot 8 inches in the rear, 6.5, 10 foot 8 inches in the rear, 6.5 feet in the front. So we average it out to about 8.5 feet for an average grade. So as it shows, the top of our roof, the roof deck for our house is at the 35-foot buildable maximum level. It steps down in some areas, and then we have a parapet wall feature that does extend beyond that by 18 inches. So that is considered an architectural feature and is really just to kind of give a variation of mass. So the actual top of roof meets the zoning criteria, and then architectural features are allowed to go beyond that up to 40 feet. In our case, as the property slopes towards the rear, it's benefiting us. The massing of our project actually comes down. So at the front, we're meeting the 35-foot criteria. As it goes to the rear, we're actually slightly lower than 35 feet if you measure from grade. That makes sense. This is the north elevation. And again, forgive me for rushing through. We are showing a mixture of materials. Here you can see on the accessory structure, we're at the 22.5-foot height limit that was approved in the design exception 1. We have a brick facade, which we'll show examples of as the presentation goes on. Hardy board siding, a 6-inch exposure, smooth finish. Again, a low slope aluminum roofing. This element has hardy board siding. We're going to do a smooth stucco. Some of these lines are showing control joints with an aluminum window system. Again, a brick facade that steps in. We're going to have our mechanical units on a plinth below at the flood elevation, but behind the fence. And we'll show that in the presentation further on as well. And then this is going to be a stucco element as well. It has a architectural screen block, which we'll show examples of as the presentation continues. On the south elevation, same materials, just repeated throughout the massing in different ways. These are the front and rear elevations of the garage. Again, there's volume shown to the garage, and we'll show in the building sections, but it's mainly to accomplish storage. There's no living area or actual staircase to get up there. We're just going to have a storage loft and a car lift that allows for an extra car to be parked in the garage. So this is a section showing how the massing steps from the front facade. We do have a 3-story element, and then we have the roof terrace, and then the larger 3-story massing towards the rear. This is a cross section cut through that secondary massing. It's through the roof element here and the planter. So it shows the extension of the metal canopy to the side, the brick elements, the planter, and the roof terrace. This is the section cut through the accessory structure, showing the storage loft and then the vehicular lift. We were requested to present a water table detail when we worked with staff. This is the 2 different conditions of where we have a water table line at the first floor level. Where we have stucco shown, we're going to do a 1-inch reglet detail to provide a reveal. And then where we have brick that continues down to the grade, we're going to do a 1/2-inch step out of the brick to achieve the line at the water table. This is a section through the front porch. We're showing a 22.5-inch step up from the sidewalk to the front porch, and then a 4-inch step up into the house. This also shows the relationship of the small balcony on the second floor to the metal canopy that extends out over the front porch. Beyond, we are showing some 3-inch metal steel pipes. Again, we'll address that as the presentation continues. This is a section cut through the third floor terrace showing the metal railing detail, how we're addressing the brick and the stone. Above all of the details where we have a brick condition, over the windows we're providing a metal channel that will be painted bronze to match the windows, and that channel will support the structure instead of doing header brick. Typical details through the accessory structure roof conditions, where we have a parapet wall that goes down to a low slope metal roof. We're showing a membrane roof that slopes to the side, and then the metal roof at the parapet condition, and then here's the roof overhang detail at the accessory structure. We're going to do a beadboard soffit. We're going to do an aluminum wrapped fascia and a low slope metal roof with a 16-inch overhang. We're also showing aluminum gutters on the roof that will tie into aluminum downspouts. Over the garage door, we do have a small architectural canopy detail that will match that in the front and will also match our roof overhangs. That is a 12-foot overhang. Purposes of that is to make sure we're maintaining the 5-foot separation between the primary structure and the accessory structure. How am I doing on time? Is there a time? Do we know? 12 minutes left? Thank you. This is a section through the side canopy structure. We're showing a vehicular gate, the ribbon driveway, part of our drainage system, and then this is part of the stucco wall. We're also doing a tongue and groove beadboard soffit underneath the metal canopy. Section cut through the planter detail on the third floor terrace. This is a section showing how we're addressing the relationship of the condensing units on the north side. We're just building a metal plinth, and then we're also doing a 6-foot wood fence that has 1x4s horizontally screwed into the 4x4 framing members. So at no point from the front or north side will you see the condensing units from the street. This is a typical roof overhang in the areas where we do have a low slope metal roof, 16 inches with a gutter and a 2x10 fascia clad in aluminum. At areas where we have brick, we're going to do a precast sill piece around the window, or at the windowsill, I'm sorry. We had mentioned in all of our soffits, we're showing a wood tongue and groove material. This is an example of a similar color that we're proposing. It's going to be a lighter stained wood. This is an example of the brick and the stucco that we're proposing. The stucco will be a white, smooth painted stucco. And then we're going to do a Roman style brick. We're still trying to narrow down the exact color, but we're proposing, I have an example. We're proposing a beige tone. Do I show this on the projector or just hold it up?
It'll be fine.
Okay. So, excuse me. So it's a Roman style brick. It's a thinner exposure and a longer brick than typical brick, but I think in this case we're trying to show a more contemporary style. It fits well with architecture. This is close to the color scheme we're looking at. We want to do a lighter beige with darker tones mixed in. So very similar to what we're proposing. This actually may be the brick. So we're still shopping. So this is an example, obviously not our house, but example of that style of brick being used in good, nice piece of architecture. I mentioned before the screen block showing up on that outdoor terrace on the 3rd floor. We're going to propose just a precast concrete that will be painted white to match the exterior. It's a 16 by 16 with a very simple pattern. On the front columns, we're proposing some 3-inch steel painted columns. On the rear, we're going to just wrap the 6 by 6 structural post with hardy board smooth finish. I mentioned some of the roof elements. Where we have the standing seam metal roof, we're going to do a 1-inch mechanically seamed roofing system that's allowed to be put on a low slope. And then what we're showing here is also just how those metal elements and the wood kind of come together. For lighting, ideally we're not going to have any light fixtures on this house. If we do, it will be in this nature. Most of our exterior lighting will be via LED rope lighting or can lights. So we probably are not going to have any mounted fixtures, but we wanted to show an example if we do end up doing that, what it would look like. Example, again, of a detail through our roof system, and then just an example of a low slope membrane type of roof that we're proposing. For windows, we're proposing to use an aluminum window system, very contemporary, by ES Windows. I think this one's a little too large to put in the projector, but it's a very clean aluminum style window. This is a smaller cut section through a casement piece. The majority of our windows will be casement or fixed. For doors, we're showing a bifold door system in some areas. On the front door, we're doing a steel door, and then other areas we're just doing a French aluminum door system. These are areas where we're going to have doors on the front terrace, coming out of the kitchen to the rear lanai, the front door, and then we have one little man door, French door on the 2nd floor balcony. I'm sorry, over here. Or actually 2, I'm sorry, one coming out from both doors, both areas. Our railings are going to be a very simple black aluminum. We're going to do a very thin flat stock metal, and it's going to be painted bronze to match the windows and other trim. For the garage doors, we're going to do a clad wood, stained similar to the other trim, very light colored stain. Mentioned earlier, we're doing a mixture of horizontal siding, brick, and stucco. In areas where we're doing the siding, it's going to be a hardy 6-inch exposure with the smooth finish. Just an example of other contemporary architecture that has that style. This is a house around the corner, new construction, obviously traditional style, but it has smooth 6-inch exposure hardy as well. The front of Rome Avenue, many of the newer houses, a lot of the older houses have a retaining wall. We're going to propose up to a 12-inch high retaining wall along the sidewalk. I say up to 12 because that's going to be the highest point, or the lowest point. It's going to, I'm sorry, the highest point is sort of slopes with the grade along Rome. So we're still working, and as we get final construction drawings done, our intent is to keep it a rather low retaining wall, less than 12 inches, but we need to work with staff as that develops and we get our final grading plan complete if that's approved. And again, this is just showing examples along Rome Avenue of retaining walls. Our motor court, we're using turf block to help with the impervious surfaces, and also just because it adds more green space, more play area. And then we are, mentioned earlier, retention plan. We are draining all of our gutters into a downspout system that's carried out towards bubbler boxes on the street. So drainage is accounted for in all areas. And again, this is the front of our house as proposed. We really appreciate your time this evening. We've worked hard with staff to try and present something that we hope can get approved and considered this evening. It's been a long journey for us. We started this application process in January, so we're really hoping for positive feedback this evening and some consideration, and we'd love to work with you and hear what you have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. At this point, staff's going to present the staff report.
Good evening, Commissioners. Ron Vila, staff with Historic Preservation. Staff finds that this is consistent with the Hyde Park design guidelines. Initially, we started with the owners and the architect for him to define the style of architecture. And then once he defines the style, to stay within that vocabulary and move forward. It's a very complete presentation this evening. And he addressed the items in your staff report on page 3, which deal with the scale and the massing and for compatible new construction within the Hyde Park Historic District. A couple of items that need additional attention tonight, as he discussed the retaining wall, to talk about the materials, a little more information on the fences and the gates that encompass the structure. Discuss the connector, he kind of went over the connector very quickly, and then to conclude the materials on the front porch and how the walkway terminates into that front porch and the materials. I'll be here to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. At this point, we will open the public hearing to any public comment. If anyone would like to speak either for or against the project, please let me know. Just so you know, we do have 2 podiums, and what we would ask is if there's multiple people that would like to kind of go back and forth to either one.
Good evening. My name is James McGuire. I'm the owner of the property at 1708 West Richardson Place. So if you're heading north on Rome, just past this property, and you take a left, our house is the first house on Rome once you turn left there. So the east boundary of my lot essentially runs along the rear boundary of 1103 South Rome, if that makes sense. Our home is a contributing structure. It was built in 1908, and in fact, it was owned by Dr. Richardson, after whom Richardson Place is named. We don't believe that the plans that have been proposed tonight are appropriate in terms of the scale and the site coverage of the proposed structure. And I do have a couple of photos I did want to show you. So what I did was I walked along the east boundary of my property, looking over the fence to 1101 South Rome, 1103 South Rome, and 1105 South Rome. All 3 of those lots, the rear sides of those lots are along the east boundary of my property. So you can see in that photo, the house is relatively modest in size. It's not towering up above the other nearby homes. This is the current structure that's at 1103 South Rome. And again, you can see relatively modest in size, not a huge property. And that's at 1105 South Rome. So that's the view along the side of our house. We think that what's being proposed here, which if you'll pardon the sort of metaphor for this, but when this is constructed, that's going to be the view from my backyard towards 1103 South Rome. A huge white stucco wall. Essentially, it's like a drive-in movie screen. We don't think that's appropriate for this location, particularly given what this structure is. It is a 2-story accessory structure. It's a parking garage with a lift in it. I would imagine the only other place in Hyde Park where you can park on the 2nd floor is in Hyde Park Village in the commercial parking lots. That's not how residential parking structures typically are built. But they need to do that because they're trying to jam so much house into so little space. And the rest of that space is a storage loft. So this is not, there's a huge house in front of it. You'd think there'd be storage in there. I don't know why they need a storage loft and a second story to park their cars. Looking at the Hyde Park design guidelines, they say that the focus of the design guidelines is on compatibility of new structures with existing character of the neighborhood. Well, the existing character of the neighborhood is nothing like that accessory structure. They also say that the new construction should reflect the basic scale, materials and quality found in the early buildings at Hyde Park. Again, I think in terms of scale, this is way off of what is traditional in Hyde Park. The design guidelines, when they're speaking about orientation and site coverage, say that the committee will look at the percentage of the site that the building covers compared to nearby buildings. Well, if you look at the nearby buildings on either side and then my house on the back of it, we're not covering 85% of the property with buildings. There's essentially no room on this property other than the buildings themselves. I don't think that's consistent with what's in the neighborhood. The guidelines also say that lot coverage should be of similar proportion to the site coverage on adjacent lots. I've shown you the 3 adjacent lots. What they're proposing here is not similar to any of those lots. And it says the overall portions of building to lot area should remain consistent from lot to lot along the block. This would not remain consistent. I guess that means my time is up. We think this is detrimental to our property and others in the neighborhood, so we oppose.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak either for or against the project? All right, seeing and hearing none, the commissioners will now begin asking questions and discussing the project. Starting on my right, if you like.
First, I just want to say thank you. I was here at the last hearing, and you have made some considerable changes. So thank you for that. I know you've worked hard on it. I guess the only questions I have is what Mr. Vila presented. If you can talk a little bit about the front walkway and the connectors that he talked about and the fence.
Okay, I'm going to start with the covered connector. The accessory structure is here, the rear of our house is here, and we have an 8-foot separation between the two masses. Zoning requires a 5-foot separation measured from eave to eave. As I presented in the case, 16-inch overhang on each side, so we have slightly more than 5 feet, well actually I'm sorry, 7'10" between, so we have 5 foot between the two roof structures. I'm going to show you the elevation that clarifies that a bit more. So forgive my printing, but that's the line showing the separation between the 2 feet. It's actually 5 foot 0.5 inches. So that's what we're doing to maintain the separation requirement. Cutting through here, this is a portion where we're going to have the membrane roof. You see it here and here. It's just an open connection that just has it's really just a roof and a beam that matches the rest of the lanai.
Okay, thank you.
Other concerns, refresh my memory, I think the fence was brought up.
Yeah, the fence, I believe you described it, but I don't think we saw a picture of it.
So this is a typical section. We're going to do a 6-foot high wood fence. It's going to have a cap across the entire length and then a 1x4 horizontal slats with a 1-inch space between them. The model doesn't fully represent the detail, but very similar in nature to what we're showing on the model.
Okay, thank you.
What were the other
And
concerns?
the last thing was the front walkway.
Front walkway. I'm going to again reference the wall section through the front. So there's, and I'll reference the site plan after this, but we're doing a concrete sidewalk from the existing sidewalk to the front porch that slopes slightly up. We're going to do a covered, or concrete steps and exposed concrete finish on the front porch, as well as the small porch off of the front office. The majority of that front porch is clad with brick. In front of the office, there is stucco details, so I think the question was, how does the material engage the rest of the material, the facade? So it's concrete transitioning into brick.
Thank you.
So, on the graphic for the fence, though, it kind of, in the gate, they both kind of look like they're metal, but you're saying they're wood.
Yeah,
It's just the
it's-
appearance on the graphic.
Yes, ma'am. It's just it's going to be a painted fence as well, so I think
Okay.
it's just the appearance in them.
Okay, and then, so there's going to be no transparency on the gate at all? You're not going to be able to see through it?
The
or
gate's
can you?
gonna have the same. It's gonna have 1-inch slats
1 inch,
that are
okay.
fully transparent.
Okay. And then, I guess to the accessory structure, if we can pull up, the rear view and side view, I think that's the south view.
No, that'd be east and west.
So this is the rear view the gentleman was concerned about that faces his property.
Yeah, and then the other side as well. So was there a reason why, I know that you're very deliberate on other parts of the house of switching up different materials. Is there a reason why you kept this more just one stucco material on both of those sides with no windows?
Honestly, I thought more in respecting the neighbors. I didn't think they'd want windows looking into their yard, even though there's no function of that space. It's just volume. So we didn't see a need to place windows there. We would certainly be happy to entertain doing that, but that is the rear back corner of the lot. There is no alley. There's no really visible angle, with the exception of neighbors. But in our defense, there is no other place to put a garage on this site. We're not allowed to put it along the front. It really leaves one of those corners. The massing, it was approved with a design exception that allows us to go to 22.5 feet. And there was the ability to have public comment when we applied for that, and we didn't hear anything. So we were fully compliant. But we're more than happy to work with staff, work with the board if there's some concessions we can make on that to make it more peer more friendly.
Yeah.
But it's really just a matter of function. It's expensive windows to place in an area where it's not functional.
Okay. I think that's all I, one thing, so the retaining wall in the front, you're not sure the height
Well,
or material?
We're working on our final grading. The intent is that it's no higher than 12 inches.
Okay.
The Rome Avenue retaining walls, some are really high, some are low. We prefer a lower retaining wall. I don't want it higher than 12 inches, but the way the grade kind of falls off on the cross-section of the site, we're going to kind of work to figure out what the balance is. I haven't gotten to that point in the design yet, but the intent is no higher than 12 inches.
Okay. Okay, I think that's all I have for right now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have hardware selections made yet?
No, all of the doors and windows that we're providing have their own integral system. With the exception of the front door, we don't have that yet. We'd like to offer to work with staff on that when we do have this selected.
Would you mind pulling the front elevation or front rendering, either one?
Does that work?
Yes. So your front door will have hardware?
Yes, yeah, the front door will have hardware, we haven't selected it.
Okay. And there are no mullions or muttons in any of your windows?
There are
proposed? Okay. So are they operable?
The larger windows are fixed.
Yes.
As we go around the facade, and as I sort of presented, there's going to be a mixture pending on the function of fixed windows versus casement. In the opportunities where we do have fixed windows, we're going to do a fixed casement, so it has the same profile as the other windows. So there shouldn't be a big drop-off in look.
Okay.
But to answer your question, the larger windows are going to be fixed. In cases like this, some of the other windows these are going to be operable because they're acting as egress windows. So it's a mixture of the two.
My only other question is, you were very diligent in sharing the design comparisons of the district. Do you have any information on, as far as site coverage for the district
I don't
or
have.
your area?
I don't have specific numbers related to other properties. I do know that the house to the north and south of us are smaller ranch houses like the house that we're demolishing. I don't think it's fair to compare a new construction with those examples. However, I do know that on a lot of the historic projects I work on, especially I'm working on one along Hills Avenue, a lot of times we're exceeding the 50% requirement. I also worked on a property at 1011 South Rome. We were asked and worked with the city to provide an underground containment system, similar to what we're proposing here. They actually had a worse case than this current house, so it is fairly normal to have an excess of the 50% requirement. And on larger, older houses in Hyde Park, it's very common that that happens. What I think is more important is how we deal with the water, which is ultimately the reason they have that code. So by planning it, directing all the water to underground storage and out to the street, we're providing a very positive flow, and we shouldn't have any issues which would affect neighbors.
Thank you.
Sir, I'd like to thank you very much again for doing the work you've done to massage this design from the last time we've seen this, so that it makes a better fit for this site. I'd like to discuss for a moment with you how this design fits within its neighborhood. I do understand and have a certain feeling for a contemporary architecture in a historic district such as Hyde Park. And I can understand how under certain circumstances where that contemporary design can add a counterpoint to what is more traditional to stand apart from what is the old versus what is the very brand new. So I think you're in the right direction in that area, personally myself. But there's one item I think is missing here, and that's respecting your massing. I don't have a problem with the massing of the buildings in and of itself, but you presented tonight a number of precedent items, both contemporary and new and traditional. And I do know that there are other contemporary buildings within the Hyde Park Bayshore area. I read your elevations, particularly your front elevations, and their fenestration as being relatively large scale in its nature. Whereas in your precedents, those fenestration items, the doors and the windows, even on the contemporary models that you presented, were broken down to a certain degree where they were not visually as imposing, as massive as they are shown on your elevations. Have you given any thought about how your fenestration appears from the street and from your various sight lines with respect to the neighbors and your neighboring structures, and how those fenestration items have been broken down into smaller parts?
Yes, sir, I have. to be honest, and I don't have an example, my first presentation to my client actually did have a more broken apart mullion pattern in the windows. And through the course of our design development, we've worked with their preferences of what style they liked, and we've opted to remove those details. It was personal preference, and we felt that and albeit you're right, there isn't a breakdown, they are large open windows, but I think that other examples of contemporary architecture do have that. But we would certainly entertain, and if we would entertain reintroducing that detail. I don't think it was a debate amongst us as a design on which way we wanted to go. Their preference was to go this way, but I think I can speak for them that they would entertain that again by showing an alternative pattern to that.
I personally think that if you will, the broken or the more articulated fenestration be a better fit for your neighborhood and not particularly detract from your contemporary state of affairs. In addition to that, I'd like to echo my commissioner's regard towards your accessory structure. Two of your major elevations are basically blank walls. And I can understand why they are blank, being the accessory structure that they are associated with. But is there a particular reason why they have not been articulated or if you will, fenestrated in some fashion that is in keeping with its main structure? It seems to be totally out of place with its main structure.
To answer, sort of to reiterate what I think I said earlier, is that really it was a function of being the back of the house in both regards. There, functionally, we do have our trash storage in the rear, so we did place a door. And we're gonna, we're having downspouts on the south elevation, but it was a result of lack of function or need. Again, we wouldn't be opposed to adding or introducing windows in both elevations.
It could be windows, or it could be change in material planes. There is a belt course that you've developed on one or both sides of other sides of the building that could be wrapped around. I can see a number of different elements that you've already have in place that could be developed to, if you will, soften or break up that two-story mass.
We would certainly entertain looking at alternative details. As you mentioned, we do have other materials we could provide. We could provide attention to detail there that would break it up more, and I think that's what I'm hearing from your comment is it
And
needs a little more personality.
And just as a clarification, my thinking in terms of what you're presenting to us tonight is a contemporary structure, if you will, in coloration right now. That's subject to change. But basically, you're looking at a white, beige, and bronze scheme.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
Any additional questions? I think the commissioners have kind of mentioned it before. I think the main structure in the house is, the detail level on that. The windows do seem a little bit large, but, understanding the contemporary style, that is something that can have. I personally would like to see some of the detail that's been put into that main structure also incorporated into the accessory structure. I think you have on two sides, you do that very well. I do understand that it is an accessory structure. It does not need to be as detailed as the main structure in the house. And it does back up to kind of the rear of the property, which isn't necessarily seen. However, it does kind of read as a 25-foot or taller just blank wall. And it would be nice, I think, especially with the historical kind of houses nearby, if some of that materiality, the kind of the separations of that, or something breaks that mass up to where it can kind of read a little bit more cohesively with the main structure. Any further comments?
Not from me, thank you, sir.
Then at this point, the applicant is allowed 5 minutes for a rebuttal.
I think what I would like to just say is that I appreciate your feedback, and I think that we would hope that with our relationship working with staff, that some of these accessory structure items might be able to be resolved outside of coming back before the board. I think you've made very clear the comments, and we can certainly respect our neighbors and would be very open to including additional details to that. Obviously, I request that we could work with staff on that, but you know, I think that we don't have any fundamental issue with addressing those concerns. I think that the accessory structure was designed to be simpler, and staff even mentioned that we might have some concern with that back and side elevation of the accessory structure. Didn't choose to ignore that, but also thought that we present the more simple version of this. And hearing your comments, I think we probably made the wrong decision. But in fairness, we do respect that, and we would be happy to address those comments.
Thank you. At this point, we will be closing this portion of the public hearing, and the commissioners will now begin to discuss the case. Would the commissioner like to start? Neither. Commissioner Sutton?
I'm going to cut to the quick. I think that there are still some unresolved details respecting this building, its massing, and its relationship to its surrounding neighbors. I would personally be inclined for a continuation on this, so that a variety of issues could be resolved more completely to everyone's satisfaction, mine including.
Commissioner Boyd?
Just as a point of discussion, we've spoken about breaking up the accessory structures massing. The retaining wall is still in question, hardware specifications are in question, and a question was posed about the scale and fenestration of the windows. Beyond that, I don't have any additional comment.
I definitely think that the accessory structure is an issue. I mean, just other accessory structures in the Hyde Park Historic District have a lot more personality. I do think you did a phenomenal job, though, in the front, like switching up the materials in the facade so that it doesn't look overwhelming. But I do think the accessory structure was somewhat of an afterthought, but I understand your intent. It is the accessory structure, but it is visible, especially to the neighbors. And it almost kind of looks, to me, kind of commercial-like in its current state. So I don't know if you all would feel comfortable leaving that with staff or not. So I'm up in the air.
I agree. I think, I don't know that it needs to come back in front of us. I actually do think that staff could probably handle it. But I agree with all the points that we've brought up.
I personally want to kind of echo what some of the commissioners have stated, is I think the small items, some of the fence and gate details, the retaining wall details, materials, the hardware, I think you have shown a pretty complete presentation of what this building will look like, and a lot of the materials, a lot of the exterior pieces. So a lot of those details, I think staff can handle that. And I think the accessory structure, I think you're almost there. I think it's just those two sides that you need to adjust. And seeing the front of the building and seeing the main house, I think you guys are going to be able to get there. So I'm comfortable with it, but I would like to see if any commissioners would like to, if we're ready, make a motion.
I move to grant a certificate of appropriateness for the drawings and documents presented at the public hearing in ARC 20-171 for the property located at 1103 South Rome Avenue, with the following conditions: that the retaining wall, hardware, and fence and details be approved by staff, as well as breaking the massing of the accessory structure's rear and south elevations, and confirm the window specification to accommodate appropriate massing and fenestration. Based upon the finding of fact that the proposed project is consistent with the Hyde Park design guidelines for the City of Tampa for the following reasons: that the setback materials and the proposed structure maintains the quality within the district.
Second?
And then before we vote, do you understand the conditions that have been explained, just so it's on record?
Yes, sir, and we have no objection.
Okay. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion passes. Thank you.
Ron Vila, staff with Historic Preservation. Moving to the next agenda item is ARC 20-205. This is for the address of 718 South Orleans Avenue. The primary structure is a contributing structure that dates back to 1925. The zoning classification is RS 60. There is a dual request for this. There's a variance for a front yard setback from 25 to 17. And there's a certificate of appropriateness for new construction for a front porch. I want to share with you some past action. This is the subject site. This is a plant that was approved by the ARC in 2000, December 2000, and then it went into January 2001, that there was a reduction for a front yard setback to encompass this, this plant here that I stated. So part of this has already been approved. Now they're looking to go vertical. They want to put a covered front porch on top of the variance that was already approved. So this would trigger an additional variance. Moving to the Sanborn map, which is very important for this request. This is Orleans, that runs north and south. You have Inman to the south, but just to focus on the structure at hand, you see that in 1929, when this was taken, there was no front porch. If you look at the block, all the other structures on the same block face and across the street had porches. The porches are indicated with a hatched-in area, and then the body of the buildings are a solid line. So this is how you read the Sanborn. At this particular junction, the Dutch colonial style home did not have a front porch. This is looking from above. This is to illustrate the setback, that the other structures kind of are a little more proud than the subject site at hand. This is looking at the front elevation of that contributing structure. Just looking from the side, from the driveway side. A little closer to the stoop as you approach the front door. The brick material. The front door itself. The lap siding. And these are the windows on that front facade. They're multi-pane over multi-pane, double hung. These are the casement windows that flank the front door to the north. And just to conclude is the overhang and how that Dutch style roof terminates. I just wanted to focus on the front porch since this was the extent of the request tonight, and I'll hand it over to the agent.
Thanks, Ron. Good evening, Commissioners. Tyler Hudson, 400 North Ashley Drive, the agent for Jeff and Kelly Halpern. With me tonight is Kelly Halpern, who's one of the property owners. Jeff cannot be here. He is with the Lightning in the NHL bubble in Toronto. The Lightning just won in overtime, as a side note. Part of the project team is here, though, Alan Dobbs, who is the project designer. We've submitted some original plans that have changed, and Alan was the one who designed those that are before you this evening. One other member of our project team who cannot be here this evening is Stephanie Farrell. Stephanie served as a consulting architect for this project. She and Alan worked together to finalize some of the finishes that Alan will get into a little bit later. In the written record, and I'm not going to talk about this because I'm doing more of the legal part, but there is an oral or written expert testimony from Stephanie talking about why the design that is proposed does meet the Hyde Park design guidelines, and Alan will talk about that in just a little bit. One just kind of point of, I guess, housekeeping. We're going to go ahead and sort of combine the variance and certificate of appropriateness discussions. So I think that gives us 30 minutes total, if that sounds right. Excuse me? 40, okay.
40.
We're certainly not going to need that much time. We're going to go ahead and divide this. I'll discuss the variance. Alan will then discuss the certificate of appropriateness. But I think to take a step back, Ron did a great job articulating why we're here. We're here because the Halpern family, who have young children, want to have a covered front porch. And they want to have a covered front porch, I think, for the obvious reasons, so children don't fall off the ledge, for aesthetic reasons, obviously, which Alan can talk more about. But one point that I think is worth really mentioning here is that this is a contributing structure. The lack of a front porch, the lack of a covered porch, does great damage to the facade. There are water damage and water intrusion issues. So there is a lot of aesthetic consequence here, but there's also some practical consequence that I think that I'm going to talk a little bit more about, but I wanted to discuss that a little bit at the beginning. Before going into the 5 variance criteria that I'm going to discuss, Alan is going to discuss the 6th variance criteria. I want to talk a little bit about precedent. Ron alluded to it. Legally, precedent has a great deal of significance. Practically speaking, I think precedence is good because it promotes some measure of reliability. I think that allows a balance of preserving property rights with preserving history, which is the somewhat challenging charge that you all have here. And I think it's really worth repeating that on December 6, 2000, your predecessor commissioners, by a unanimous 8-0 vote, voted to allow a front yard setback reduction from 25 feet to 19 feet. That is the exact same thing that we're seeking to do here. After that first variance was granted, the patio was constructed. That was in 2000, and here we are 19 years later when the Halperns bought it. 1 year after that, we're here trying to finish the job. We were trying to finish a project that started 20 years ago, and that we believe is incomplete. It's aesthetically incomplete, and it's practically incomplete as well. So with that said, I want to go ahead and I'm going to use the Elmo to show sort of our variance criteria. This is in your in the record. We submitted a overview responding to each of the 6 variance criteria that you all have, but I thought, and this is a quasi-judicial procedure, we want to go ahead and cross our T's and dot our I's. So all right. Let's see, can you guys read that? Thank you. So the first variance criteria is obviously about uniqueness. Some cases that you all see have a very good claim to uniqueness. Some have a less good case to being unique. The key part here is that this is the only home on the 700 block of Orleans that does not have a front porch. There's a very stubborn fact that Ron articulated and that we confront, which is that when in the 1931 Sanborn map, or whichever map Ron was showing, there was no porch on this house. Why that design decision was made 96 years ago in 1924 when this house was built, we don't know. That reason is lost to history. There's nothing that we can do about that decision, but there's something that you all, in your capacities, the ARC and your variance granting authority, there is something that you all can do about it. There is simply no other house that is on this block, and I don't have a count of every single home in Orleans that's in the district. I think it's 4 blocks, or certainly within the historic district as a whole, but I think it goes without saying that the Hyde Park Historic District is characterized by a significant number of front covered porches. And I think as those pictures showed of the existing conditions, the absence here, I think, is marked and pretty noticeable. Let's see, the next criteria, which is, I think, the commission's favorite, certainly the lawyer's favorite, is that this is not self-created. And this is not self-created. The hardship, and let's be really specific about what the hardship is. The hardship is that we cannot build a front porch we cannot build a front porch and comply with the 25-foot front yard setback that's required under Chapter 27 of the code. We can't do it. We especially can't do it because your prior commissioners granted a variance to allow us to come 19 feet in to align with the home to the north and the home to the south, which Alan will talk about when he shows you a block alignment diagram. I'm not going to really belabor this one because the applicant did nothing to create this. Okay, number 3, about injury to others. The granting of this variance will do no offense to any other person. This isn't an issue where a side setback might get further into someone's yard, or a rear setback can cause issues that are obvious. This is a front yard setback, and to the contrary, not only will this not harm any neighbors, we've put into evidence, and we have packets which we can send. I think they're all in your record, though, of 4 letters from neighbors who want this, who support the application. One of those neighbors is here this evening, and I think will be speaking on behalf of the application. One of the neighbors is Lee Versaghi, who I think some of you know, who's an architect who has, I believe, been before this commission several times. And I think the main reason they support it, the letters speak for themselves, but is that the current lack of a porch on this block is a very glaring omission. And it's one that's gone on for a very long time, and it's one where the current owners have sort of run out of tolerance, I think, for the practical difficulties that lack of a porch creates. That's it for this one. Okay, comprehensive plan. So as you all know, the comprehensive plan doesn't really have a significant amount of detail about historic preservation. That's really more of the job of Chapter 27. However, there is discussion in the comp plan about, about preservation, architectural integrity, things like that. And that's why I brought up the fact that one of the reasons they're trying to do this is to protect the structure itself. This structure, I mean, it goes without saying, obviously it rains a lot here, and a totally unexposed surface is going to weaken, it's going to fall apart, it's going to disintegrate more quickly than if there is some type of covering. That is not the dominant reason why the applicant is trying to do this, but I do think that's actually a very practical detail that does bear on the comp plan's promotion of policies and development orders, which is what you'll grant tonight, that protect the integrity of the architecture. Again, this is a contributing structure, and we believe that Alan can touch a little bit more on this, but that the installation of the front porch, the ceiling, will actually better protect the physical structure. Finally, for my piece of this, the 5th criteria is about substantial justice being done, and look, I think people don't always think of justice and setbacks and zoning and things like that necessarily as being in the same category. But this does really come down to what is the reasonable use of a person's property. We believe that substantial justice would be done by granting this variance. It would allow the applicant, it would allow the property owner to put a little roof over a patio that has already been approved. We don't believe it harms the rights of anyone else. It protects the contributing structure. And to not allow the variance leaves the family really with no options. The patio is there. That is 19 feet setback rather than 25. There's very little they can do. All other alternatives have explored. This is it. We believe it's a good design. And so with that, I'm going to turn things over to Alan, who is going to discuss the 6th variance criteria. Alan, I'll leave this on the screen for you, which touches more on the design standards and the design guidelines. So that, go to Alan.
Good evening. My name is Alan Dobbs. I have been sworn, my address is 5502 North Cherokee Avenue. I'm with Florida Design Studio. I have 2 things which I'd like to submit for the record. One of them, I think both of them are already on Oscilla and submitted, but I wanted each of the commissioners to have one, so because I'm going to refer to it during my conclusion. So. I'm going to move over because I'm used to being on that one. Okay, so with this project, we had two primary things that we were looking to solve. One is what to do about creating cover for the porch. Tyler had already addressed some of those issues. But it does orient to the west, so, it's not a very comfortable place to sit in the afternoon. And so we're just looking at how we do a porch and how does it best fit with this style architecture and also fit with the neighborhood. Also, another part of this, a minor part, is the driveway. We are replacing the driveway. It currently has a concrete ribbon driveway, and we will be replacing that. There's a relatively nice oak tree in the front yard, but I believe they may have gotten permission to remove it, but it's right there at the edge of the driveway. So removing that tree is also going to create more problems with more sun on the western exposure of this porch. Anyway, so in the Secretary of Interior standards, there's several items I kind of wanted to point out that we strongly considered on this project. The first one is that every effort should be made to provide alternatives to not remove original material unless there's no other option. This project has sat like this for a long time, and nobody really knew how to design a porch that would fit with that house. Even though there's an architect next door that I think had looked at it at one time as well. And so we obviously considered that. The next thing is distinctive features need to remain or be reused. And I'm going to point out that one of the very distinctive features of this house is the little portico or arched roof entry where the front door is, which is off-center of the house, which is a little bit unique for this style architecture. The next item is contemporary design for alternatives shall not destroy significant architectural features, and the design should be compatible with size, scale, character, and especially neighborhood development. And I mentioned that because the porch, this is the only house on the street without a porch. It really looks like there's a missing tooth, on this street. So this would bring the back into consistency with having a porch on every house on that side of the street especially. The other thing is, if removed, essential form and integrity will remain. Hopefully I'll be able to demonstrate to you in the drawings that part of the original features of this house will be able to remain. We're just going to kind of build around them. But it certainly is a balance of the meeting all the design guidelines, meeting the client's needs, and also working with the style of architecture that it is. So with any project, there's always a series of design constraints. There's the non-negotiable design constraints, such as existing conditions, building codes, regulations, things like that are just not flexible. They are what they are. And there's a whole continuum to negotiable design constraints that are somewhat flexible. So it's within that realm that we're designing, and that's also why it's the Hyde Park design guidelines, because they're a set of guidelines. They aren't meant to provide specific solutions for any project, but a set of guidelines for this board and also designers to consider when modifying a contributing structure such as this. And I also want to point out there's never really a perfect solution that will meet all the guideline requirements for Secretary of Interior standards. But even with that, there's not necessarily a best solution. What we're looking for is an appropriate solution. Best is a very subjective term. Every one of the board members here and everybody in the neighborhood would have different opinions on what they feel is the best design solution. But when we compare it to the design guidelines, we're just looking for something that is appropriate with all things considered, with emphasis on all. So what is appropriate? Well, obviously for the neighborhood, a porch. This house is missing a porch. This style architecture, it's common not to have porches, but it's also common to have porches, which I'll show you in a minute. And then also the style, what's appropriate for this style of architecture. So I'll go ahead and go to the I'll do this from a distance to conserve time while he works on that. So this is an example of a Dutch colonial house that has a full width front porch, but notice how it's set in from the sides. One of the really important character defining features of Dutch colonial architecture is also these regulating lines. There's a lot of horizontal trim that basically continues all the way around the building. You can kind of see that here, but this particular detail is not necessarily on all the examples, such as this one. And this is more closely, as far as the roof form, orientation, similar to what we're doing. This is another example of a full width front porch. Notice that the columns are not necessarily equally spaced on this one, but the porch is literally the full width of the house. As you can see, all this is in the same plane. This is another example of the same style house, but with a much longer street frontage, and it has an extra bay on the front. I'm going to skip the Sanborn map that shows all the porches on the street because I think Ron Vila did a good job of representing that. But this shows our house right here. I call it just a stoop. It's basically just a platform. But you can see the houses. This house is actually on the corner, and then the other two. And all those are there. The red line is the original building plat line that all the houses are lined up to, and all of them basically have about an 8 to 9 foot front porch, which is what we have. In Hyde Park, there are other examples of this style architecture, some very different ones. I think everybody knows this one on Bayshore. It has front-facing gambrel type dormers, but it does have a porch. It's asymmetrical, but it does project out from the front of the house, and it is a flat roof. There's another example and it has, notice that it's not just one plane for the porch, it actually projects out in the middle, which is actually one of the alternatives that we had kind of looked at. Y'all still working on the microphone? Oh, okay. Now I don't have to stretch as much. Okay. This house is actually one street over, and this is probably the closest Dutch colonial house to this property, and it's also the closest in the design of the porch. You can see it's not as wide as our house, but you can see how the roof is with the body of the house. The dormer is not quite full width, and also the regulating lines weren't maintained here and here, which is a little atypical, but it does show you, the front porch, and it aligns with this porch next door. I'm going to show you real quickly before and after, show you our design solution, then show you how we arrived at it. This is the existing house. You can see the roof, and it has some pilasters and some nice corbelled brackets. So that's a very important character defining feature, but there's really no way to do a porch without concealing that or removing it. So we're basically going to conceal it, but we're going to remove the brackets and reuse them, which I'll show you. And then this is our design solution. And you can see that roof form has been recreated there. The brackets are there, even the same light is there. You can see the regulating lines continue all the way around. And this is just a couple other views a little further out and a little closer up so that you can see the underside of the roof deck. The columns are paneled. The beam is the same width as the columns, and the underside is paneled. And then we have that, which has beadboard, which I'll show you in the details. Again, that matches existing. And then the porch. I'm proposing to my clients that they use robin egg blue. That's a very common historical color for porches. And by the way, these little welcome walls on either side of the stairs, Those are all original, and they pretty much line up with the front door. I forgot I had a little better close-up detail of the front porch. And then there's the existing, so these brackets are what we're gonna reuse. And because this is all the underside of the soffit, which is basically our ceiling, all of this can remain, and we can just literally frame around it. One of the unfortunate things that we're going to have to modify, and it's just because of the geometry of the porch, is the edge of the porch is here. So when that beam comes back, it's going to be right over this window. So we are going to modify this window to basically be half the size, and I will point that out. That's one of the unfortunate things, but there's just no way around it. Some of the other details on the house that we looked at is on the back. I don't know if you noticed the one-story element on the side of this house had this kind of railing detail, which they reused in the back of the house. This was an addition that was done about, I think, 10 or 15 years ago, and it has a screen porch in the back. You can kind of see that railing with the cross here, but then this has just more simple vertical pickets. And then in the back, the columns, I don't have I showed the whole full height column, you lost the details. So it's a fairly elaborate detail with the paneled column and elaborate capital. And then the base is a little more simple base, but you can see the stiles and rails are all well proportioned on the columns. And then maybe if we can zoom out a little bit. Okay, so basically this is just the existing front elevation. You can see the door is not centered. That's that window. When you go in the front door, this is where the stairs are. So this is really a feature window. So it's going to remain a feature window. It's just going to be altered in size. And then this is what's existing. It's all red brick right now. So these are some various. I think it's important to understand the process because of what I talked about before about there's no best or perfect solution, but there's an appropriate solution. So we have to design something that the Halperns will be happy with. So we looked at several different options, and this is a series of ones where we showed the front porch right here bumping out a little bit, and then recreating the roof. These are round, classical Tuscan-style columns that have entasis. That's a very common column for this type of porch. They did not care for the round column, so that's why we didn't do that option. This option was doing square columns, but ones that have a Tuscan-style base and cap and a little neck molding. And I'll talk about the rhythm of these columns in a minute because it was a unique challenge to work with the center line of the front door and this here. Because as you saw before, 4 columns creating 3 equal bays was very common, but it was also common to have columns not necessarily equally spaced in that one example that I showed you. But this particular example shows 4 equal columns, simple shed roof, the most simplistic, but Jeff Halpern felt, with this house in this neighborhood and their taste, they wanted something with a little more detail, a little more character, which is actually part of the Secretary standards and the Hyde Park design guidelines. So this is another one where, they were considering using, putting a railing on the porch. They were going back and forth on that, and so we decided that we're not going to do a front porch, but we looked at the option of how we would do a front porch and how that would work with the architecture of the house. And then this is the design that we pretty much ended up with initially. It has the square columns. The columns, if you can see a little bit detail, they have the panel to them. We have the corbelled brackets here. We have the recreated roof there. And the problem with this was getting back to the variance. I think it was noticed at 17 feet. And that was with doing these columns out here. After talking to Lee Wilson Rasaji, who lives next door, who's an architect, she said that she liked everything about this, but had a problem with that, and which I agreed with, and I felt like we can make the case for having this all in the plane, because that does project beyond the 19 feet. So in the site plan, what I did, these next series of drawings are basically what you have in your packet, as the drawings that we submitted, but because the resolution's so low, I just printed them up a little larger so you could see them a little better. And they look a little better on this too. So these are basically the ribbon driveway, which is going to be redone. There's a brick path here now. It'll probably be redone along with the new brick path here. We're going to create some new wider steps here, because that's primarily where they're going to park and enter here. You can see the columns here were removed, so we just have the columns along here. And then there's sort of an odd apron here. We can't project past the projected property line. So that's the way this is configured, and we're just going to recreate it because it's all broken up right now. So let me talk about the rhythm of the columns. So doing the 4 columns equally spaced worked well, but it didn't work well with having the door and these steps centered on one of the bays that was off-centered. So I looked at different column configurations. So basically what we did was I put a column on either side here so that we could do that portico-type roof. And then, of course, you need a column on the corner. So what that spacing was, which is spacing C, is what we did here around the corner. So you basically have the 3 columns that turn the corner on either side. And then you have this spacing, which I'm calling spacing B. So I recreated that over on this side, and then this space A. That's one of the unique things about sort of classical architecture and particularly the Dutch colonial architecture. There's a lot of symmetry and asymmetry, and there's a lot of play on that. So I think that's what this does. So we're able to sort of work with what's existing here and get the columns lined up, centered on the door. As far as the roof plan, we are proposing to do a low-profile standing seam roof because this is a secondary roof feature, and we do want to differentiate it from the existing. It's a very common treatment for as an accent roof material, and so we have that all the way across here. And then because this roof is steeper, that's why you have that particular angle there. The elevations, again, we have the paneled columns. I talked about this roof. You can see the standing seam roof here, and then you can also see the spacing of the columns here. Then you turn the corner over here. You have the stairs, and they sort of cascade down on this side. And then we have a pilaster right here, which you can see here with that half of the original window there. This is a typical detail through a column. On the base, it's, this is existing platform. So we have like a 7¼ inch base with the cove mold, and then we have this paneled style and rail type panels for the column. And then the reason they're paneled too is because they're 10-inch columns. So when you use a solid material 10-inch, typically it looks better paneled, but it's also a functional requirement. If you get a 10-inch wide piece of wood, the chances are very high that it's going to check or crack. So that's why you do the panel. And then also the underside of the beam is paneled to match the panel on the columns. And then the porch beam aligns with the house, which I forgot to mention. So you can see here, the porch beam aligns with this horizontal member that goes, it's basically the head casing for all the windows on the first floor. And then it has a slope soffit, because on the rake or gable ends, that soffit just continues on up. On the fascia here, it has a crown molding. Actually, I have a larger detail. I think I'll just go to that. This shows it a little bit better. So you can see the paneled column. You have this water table, which is basically a transition here. That's a continuation of what's existing on the house. We have a bed molding here as a transition between the ceiling and soffit and the beam. Out here, we have a 2x subfascia and a 3/4 inch finished fascia with a 4-inch crown molding and a 1 3/4 inch drip. That's one of the problems. Actually, it's one of my pet peeves. These roofers will come in and they'll do like a 2 3/4 or 3-inch drip edge, which hides most of this crown. And that's a very important detail to keep like that. And then we have the standing seam metal roof. On the sort of the gable or the rake end of the porch, the beam basically has the same detail, except we have the finished wood lap siding that matches the existing, and then we have the bead board, which is oriented this way, and then the fascia and the molding there. This detail is through the front gable. This is the bracket that we're going to very carefully take off the existing house and just relocate it here. And these lines sort of represent the arch, and then the light in the center of that arch. Again, the beam, and then this is going to be solid material, so I'm just calling it out as cellular PVC. There's nothing in wood that we can do to get that one solid. I'm concerned about using plywood, so that's why we're using that there. And then the same thing on this outer gable end, because we have that curved profile. This detail was really just kind of meant to show the column in a little more detail, because the dashed line is the structural column, and then you have the 7 1/4 base, and then you have this, which creates the bottom panel, and then you have the base, and then you have the really small cove moldings, and then you have the crown at the top, which creates the capital on the column. So, okay, this one, no, okay, this one's on, okay. So, I inadvertently came here without a sample or more details on the standing seam metal roof. I already mentioned the light fixture. That's really the only fixture we have. We do have some ceiling fans or something. I haven't talked with the Halperns yet about what they want, but I figured that's something that we could work out with staff. But just 2 items I'd like to conclude with is, I believe by now all the commissioners have 4 letters of support. All these are immediate neighbors. One of them's an architect, and they all highly support this project, and they're looking forward to seeing the front porch on this house. Then the last thing, what I'd like to do, maybe this is a little unconventional, but I'd like to just take a minute of time to let all the commissioners read this letter from Stephanie Farrell. I believe all the commissioners know Stephanie Farrell. She's a fellow in the AIA, has a stellar reputation. I think she's pretty much the one that wrote the Hyde Park design guidelines, and so that's why she was brought in as a consultant, because she's truly the best expert on Hyde Park. And she did a very carefully worded letter. So what I'd like to do is just put this on the display just for about a minute, and then the public that's looking at this on TV can read it, and then it'll give all you commissioners. So I'm using it as my conclusion. Thank you. Can you zoom in on that just a little? Yeah, thank you. be nice to have some music to go with this. Sorry about the silence. Okay, I think Tyler might have a few closing words here.
Thanks, Alan. I don't really have any concluding remarks. We can handle that and any cleanup and rebuttal. But one kind of point of information I did want to stress is the staff report was based on the original application, which was a setback reduction request from 25 feet to 17 feet. But based on the updated drawings, which I think Alan alluded to, we're actually just requesting 25 feet to 19 feet, which is consistent with what was granted back in December of 2000. So I just wanted to make that clear because I think I glossed over that a little bit. Thanks.
Thank you. At this point, staff will present the staff report.
Staff would recommend that you focus all your questions on the variance portion at this time, and if the variance goes forward, then we could talk about the certificate of appropriateness. Thank you.
Thank you. For this portion, we will open up to any public comment. This public comment, as staff has mentioned, is only regarding the variance, not the actual design or look of the building yet.
I'll start. Ordinarily, I'm not a big fan of variances.
Hold on.
Commissioner.
Yeah, we're gonna have public.
Excuse me.
Hi, how are you? My name's Danae Williamson, and we own the house across the street from the Halperns. In addition to the house across the street, we own the house on the north of the Halperns where my mother-in-law lives. So I think that we're all in support of this, and I recognize that in 2019, the city of Tampa introduced a front porch initiative by Mr. Dingfelder. And as supportive neighbors, we have complete faith in by the design that was just shown that it will adhere to the stylistic guidelines and only enhance our block. Ron, could you put up that picture of the existing front porch, please? There's a worse one than that. There's one that just is such an eyesore that we get to look at every day. And I think that even on top of this existing platform, my biggest concern is when the kids, the Halperns have 3 small children that are adorable. And my concern is to see them outside playing in the front yard on this terrible platform. I think that a covered porch would add some safety elements. I know that when I walk up the driveway, it's horrific. And again, being the owner of the home at 715 South Orleans, along with 716 Orleans, again, we have full support, and again, it can only enhance the block. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak from the public? All right. At this portion, the commissioners will now discuss the case, and we're only going to be discussing the variance for this portion.
I get to start again.
Okay.
Thank you all very much. I'm ordinarily not a big fan of variances. That's not an unusual circumstance here on this board. But I do see this project as being of substantial justice, not to the project itself, but to the neighborhood as a whole. It completes the missing piece in comparison to everything you see next door, across the street, up and down the street, perhaps even around the block for all I know. So I'd like to thank you very much for making this presentation to us tonight.
May I confirm if the request is for a 19 or 17-foot setback tonight?
19.
19, thank you.
Mm-hmm. So noted.
Any additional questions?
I had a quick question for staff. The original application for the original variance, did they so they didn't contemplate a porch at all? They just submitted for the front stoop and that's it? Just out of curiosity.
In 2000, it came forward for a reduction in setback from 25 to 19, which was indicated on the photos that I showed today. In our prior discussion, when I first met the property owners, they wanted to make sure that they were in the variance allowment, so they asked for a little bit greater distance from 25 to 17, but in actuality, the plinth that is there is at 19. So if this is to move forward, I would put the request at 19-foot, the setback requested through this variance.
Okay, thank you. That's all the questions I had.
I don't have any questions about the variance.
I don't have any questions as well either. At this point, the applicant is allowed 5 minutes of a rebuttal.
We believe that we submitted competent and substantial evidence. We understand the burden is on us to prove our entitlement to the variance that you guys have the power to grant, and appreciate your time. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, the public hearing will be closed for the variance portion. Would any of the commissioners like to discuss this?
I can start. I'm in favor of it. I think it's definitely going to only enhance the existing structure, and they nicely walk through every single element that needs to be met. I think they've met all 6.
I concur. It seems like a bit of an anomaly. Usually it's the reverse. You know, they're asking for the variance so that they can be the missing tooth, but this is actually kind of fixing the missing tooth. So in a rare case, I actually think that this is a good idea.
I agree.
Agreed.
I also agree. Would any of the commissioners like to make a motion?
I move that the variance requested for this case, ARC 20-205, for the property located at 718 South Orleans Avenue be granted as depicted on the site plan presented at this public hearing for a variance to the front yard setback change from 25 feet to 19 feet based upon the petitioner meeting the burden of proof with regard to the 6 hardship criteria set forth in section 27-114D of the City of Tampa Code of Ordinances for granting variances as stated, and the evidence provided in this public hearing, specifically that the variance is in harmony with and serves the general intent and purposes of this chapter adopted by the Tampa Comprehensive Plan, and that the variance, if granted, will allow the development that is consistent with the design standards and compatible with the historic pattern of development within the historic district.
I second.
And even though there aren't any conditions, just wanted to ask the applicant, are you comfortable and approve of the motion?
We respectfully like where this is going, and so we have no other conditions.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All against? All right, motion passes. Thank you. At this point, staff will now present the staff report for the CA portion.
Commissioners, in moving forward, staff's finding that this application is consistent with the Hyde Park design guidelines. On the staff report on page 4, it was reflected as it was not consistent. We had some concerns working through this project initially, and then as it massages its way out this evening, that staff changes its position from not consistent to consistent with the information that was presented tonight. Please focus on the request. The request was for a front porch and the variance. The variance already received approval. The agent spoke about the driveways in addition to the stoop, things that were more horizontal in nature. That's not part of the request this evening, so stay focused. And any of those additional items, either we can handle administratively, or if it needs to come back to the board, then you'll see it at a future date.
Thank you. We will now open this hearing to any public comment, either for or against the CA portion, if anyone would like to speak. All right, seeing and hearing none, the commissioners will now discuss the case.
Sir, I'd like to compliment you on your presentation of precedents and your design analysis. I find what you've made a presentation for today in this porch be wholly appropriate, not only to the building in its general nature and its design history. I really have no problem that you presented to us tonight.
Thank you. It was actually a very fun project to work on with all the detailing and stuff, because it's such a great house to start with, so just
Helps to
continue
have
that
good-
on.
Good material to begin with.
Mhm.
I do have one footnote, though. You made a note about plywood. Have you investigated marine plywood products?
No, and I'm glad you brought that up, because I thought about that when I was making the presentation. We could use marine grade plywood. The only tricky place is where we have the little arch on that outside plane, because we would have end grain. But maybe we could find out a way to deal with that so that we don't have any exposed plywood end grain.
It depends upon the nature of it, whether it's, just marine grade from Home Depot or U.S. Coast Guard certified or Lloyd certified. The other variation would be the high-density overlay they use
Yep.
for billboards.
Yes, we'd be acceptable to that as a condition.
Mr. Chair, can you just verify, I apologize, this is Kamaria Pettis-Mackel from the City
Yes.
Attorney's Office. Are you doing questions?
Yeah, so at this
Okay.
point, the commissioners will be asking questions about the presentation for the CA. Sorry.
I have a couple questions. One is, so can you go back to the window that you have to shrink? So is there any way at all that that window could be preserved? Because that's just one of the really great features of that front facade.
Could we
he
get
needs
the
You'll turn the
microphone?
Okay. Okay, so if, okay, I think you can probably see it right here. You know what, give me a second, I'm gonna set the microphone down and get the existing plan. Okay, this shows the part of the existing, where the existing window is that kind of gets filled in. So the problem is, the edge of the porch is here, and the beam is gonna return back here. So because the bottom of the beam is aligned with the bottom of the head casing band that runs all the way around, which you can see, here's the same window right here. It turns the corner. So it doesn't interfere with the beam. The problem is supporting this beam, but also how does that beam tie into the existing structure? And normally it just dies into a wall and you don't have any opening below. Or more common is you have a pilaster. And so we're just going to do a pilaster here. That was the part, to be totally honest, that I struggled with the most, and I knew that the board would take issue with. But it kind of gets back to the Secretary standards that we just couldn't find any other reasonable alternative or solution to that. So other than just keeping the one window there. So the intent is still there, still a small feature type window. But that's the best way I can answer the question.
Okay. And then also, in the staff comments, it speaks to the new additions and adjacent or related new construction will be undertaken in such a manner, if removed in the future, the essential form and integrity of the historic property and its environment would not be impaired. Can you explain, if this would to be removed in the future, how the integrity of the facade would remain?
I'm glad you asked that, because that was a point that I wanted to make, and I didn't have a blown-up detail of that. But this shows that it's unfortunately, it's very lightly screened, but the existing roof comes down right here. And then it has the little molding. So basically, even though I'm showing trusses here, this whole roof structure can basically be built around this roof. I showed roof trusses, but it could very simply be conventionally framed with ceiling joists and then rafters, so that we can preserve that part of the roof, and also where the little gable is, over the front, because that gable at the highest point is, well, this is similar to the existing, so it's not any higher than that,
Okay.
where that roof intersects the wall. And then, as I said before, these little brackets here, we're reusing those. We're just going to move them.
Okay. Thank you.
Do you have any reference for the introduction of the new roof material to your addition?
No, I don't have any supporting documentation other than just from years of experience working in historic districts in new traditional type neighborhoods, that it's fairly common to have secondary roof features have metal or different contrasting material to sort of differentiate that piece. I have had at least one project that came before this board. It was a new home in Seminole Heights, and we had a bay window in the back. It was a gable, large gable, full width gable, and there was a little bump out in the master bedroom, and it had a shed roof, and we had a contrasting material for that because my client, actually, in that case, he wanted to use copper. So that's our, and then also, it's something that the Halperns really wanted, and it's by far the best kind of roof material you can use. It has the highest wind rating, and especially a low-profile standing seam metal roof. You don't have any exposed fasteners. I don't think any other kind of metal roof would be appropriate for this, especially, a larger profile seam, standing seam, or a 5B crimp metal roof. Neither one of those would be appropriate.
I don't have any additional questions.
So kind of continuing on the roof material, could you please share or show your examples that you had again of the Dutch colonial with a porch?
You mean the little, that I started with?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, sure.
You showed a couple of kind of explaining why they could have that full width or full house kind of front porch. And while you do that, I guess my question is, I understand in some conditions, the secondary roof, you can bring in a second sort of roof material to highlight that if it is kind of a secondary system. All the examples that were kind of presented as examples of Dutch colonial homes that have that roof seem to really pull from the same material as that roof, and it almost, in some cases, just kind of blends right in and kind of curves right off of that angled, to almost where it doesn't seem like a secondary roof, it just seems part of the house again. So I guess my question is, some of the previous designs might have just been the drawings or might have actually been intentional, looked like they had shingle roofs or had a shingle roof for this. Was any consideration given to that, or was it kind of from the beginning a metal roof and that's where the direction went?
From the beginning, it was intended to be a metal roof. I think when we got started, it was shingles, and I think maybe that didn't get, this sort of shows the metal roof there a little bit, and then this one maybe shows it a little bit better.
Okay. And then most of the examples, again, do have a very typical, as you mentioned, just a shed style roof. I understand why that has that design feature over the door, kind of pulling what's there existing now kind of out to the front to highlight that, to kind of keep some of those elements. Was there any sort of consideration beyond the examples that you showed of keeping this sort of configuration but still having a simple shed roof instead of having that sort of highlighted condition?
Yeah, that was actually one of the when I sort of took you through the process, one of the ones that I had shown, which was, can you zoom out, please? But, you know, I mean, it works, you know, it's simple, but, you know, for the house that has a lot of detail, my clients wanted more detail. Hyde Park has very detailed front porches. We just felt it would be more in keeping with the character of Hyde Park to have better details. It's something that would have, you know, that little pediment roof is such an important character defining feature. So that's one of the reasons that we wanted to kind of recreate that. Here's what that looks like in 3D. So it's, you know, it's kind of, it's very simple, you know, and it gets back to what I was saying before. You know, there's different, you know, there's the perfect solution, there's the best solution, there's appropriate solution. You know, like I think different people may feel that just the simple roof is a better solution, but we feel they're both appropriate. But I think in this case, because our clients and the neighborhood kind of request, you know, more detailed front, you know, on the front porch and a more sort of a sense of entry, you know, over the steps. Because if you're going to do something different along the front of that porch, that's where you do it, is over the steps to give it a sense of entry.
Okay. Do any of my fellow commissioners have any additional questions?
I just had one question. The light that's hanging there, is that the same one that's already there?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yeah, we're just going to move it.
Okay.
All right. If no further questions, at this point, the applicant is allowed 5 minutes for a rebuttal.
Really just, I think the metal roof and the window were the two things that the board had issue with. I hope I was able to convey that, yeah, again, we're not the perfect solution, but we have some give and take and some compromise, and we feel like we're making those compromises where they need to be made without sacrificing the integrity of the architecture, which in turn means the integrity of the neighborhood. So thank you.
Thank you. At this point, the public hearing will be closed, and the commissioners will now discuss the case. Would you like to go ahead and start?
Go ahead. I mean, I don't really have much. I think it's consistent with the characteristics of the existing structure of the house. I do like that additional detail of how the door is now, opposed to something more simple. That window is unfortunate, but, you know, that's it really.
Well, I'm really excited to see the porch because I do think it activates the pedestrian experience. So I think it's a really good thing, and it will look like it fits there. I am sad about the window, but I understand. But I do think the roof material is questionable now that you pointed that out, so.
I'm struggling with the historic precedents. I do understand that we see changes in roof material. It's typically on addition to the back of the house. I think the purpose of this addition, as has been stated, to make it look like the rest of the neighborhood, like it belongs. And I think that metal roof, I'm struggling with the historic precedents and referencing Stephanie's notes. She made a note to, while introducing new elements that are keeping with the original home, where they're keeping with the original home by using details, materials, and finishes similar to that of the existing house. And I don't think that the metal roof is in line with that statement.
Thank you. As a whole, I really like the whole character of this intervention that you've put together for this front porch. I don't share my fellow commissioners' concern over the nature of the roof as a material. I could see equally the other side of this, how its differentiation being a new component part to an existing building makes total sense under the Secretary of Interior guidelines. So that doesn't bother me. What I do like the most about this is that I can actually imagine how this porch will complete that streetscape with respect to your neighbors, and how they also have their porches and that same front yard distance of space to the street and the sidewalk, all matching now. I think that's the best part of this design.
Yeah, for me, the window loss is unfortunate, but at the same time, it's completely understandable. As you add that, it's unfortunately there. So for me, that's not as much of an issue. The detail on the roof, you know, I think the explanation and the reason behind it fits and works for this specific house. Might not for all kind of houses similar to this. So for that one, I'm fine. And really, the roof material, I think I could go either way. So if it's metal seam, it doesn't bother me as much. Just kind of wanted to know your reasoning and kind of explanation behind that. So for me, I think it could stay as the metal, and I would be okay with it. Would any other commissioners like to discuss any more, or any other?
Not I, thank you.
Okay. Would the commissioner like to make a motion?
I move to grant a certificate of appropriateness for the drawings and documents presented at this public hearing in ARC case 20-205 for the property located at 718 South Orleans Avenue, because based upon the finding of fact and the proposed project as is consistent with the Hyde Park design guidelines of the city of Tampa for the particularly following reasons. This design intervention is consistent with the scale, height, width, and massing of the building and its adjacent forms from its neighbors. Setback, particularly with respect to the neighbors, or alignment, rhythm, and spacing of the streetscape, is consistent with the details of the existing front porch and its entrances, and it maintains the quality within the district.
I second.
Just want to ask the agent again, are you comfortable? There weren't any conditions, but are you comfortable on record?
Yes, we are.
All right, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Against? All right, motion passes. Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. Ron Vila. Moving to the next agenda item, which is ARC 20-183. This is for the address of 1805 West Inman Avenue. This is in for a certificate of appropriateness for an addition, and there's also a variance attached to this request for a side yard setback from 7 to 0, and this is a west side yard setback. I think for simplicity for this moving forward, I would open these together as well and have the agent do one presentation. There are 3 additions attached to this request. If the variance portion of it is not reviewed favorable, the other 2 could still move forward for the certificate of appropriateness. So I think a complete presentation would help us out with time. Moving to the Sanborn map, this is from 1929. Property in question back in 1929 was a 1-story frame structure which faced Inman. To the rear you have the crosstown, which used to be the railroad track. North is facing up. This is just an aerial shot showing that same property in question. Once again, this is Inman, and then you see the crosstown to the rear as a reference point. This is looking at the primary structure. As indicated on the Sanborn map, it was a 1-story structure. You see there was a previous 2nd-story addition towards the rear. Moving to the east elevation. This is looking at that addition that took place some time ago. And then moving to the west elevation. This is looking through the drive side. To the rear of where this car is parked is where the addition of the porta cochere is going to go, so it lines up with the vehicular access, which the agent will address. This is that west elevation. This is a series of windows, which is a 6/1. These are wood windows. You see the casing around the windows and the lap siding. Above you have the knee brackets and the gable vent. So they're showing the roofing material and the overhangs with the exposed rafters. This is the abutting property to the east, which is a non-contributing structure. This is looking at a Craftsman style structure. It's a contributing structure to the west. This is directly across the street. And to conclude with just a couple of street shots, property in question is over here. This is looking to the west into the crosstown and then back into the neighborhood. This time I have the agent address the board. Thank you.
Oh, it's on. My name's Tim Jones. I'm the agent contractor. It's been hired for the project on Inman at 1805 West Inman. First, I want to say it's entertaining to sit out here and watch who's going to make the recommendation to move forward, because you have to read so much stuff. So it's just fun to watch. Be like, I'm not doing that. So, anyways, site plan, as Mr. Vila explained, 3 additions, which is kind of a little bit misleading, but anyways, the variance is for the porta cochere, this area right here, which is at the end of the driveway. The unique part about this property is, and I'll show you on the floor plans later, is that when they built the addition, they squeezed the lot line so much that you can't actually get a car back to an accessory structure in the back. So they cannot have any type of covered parking on the property except for the porta cochere area that we're proposing. This property has been added on a couple times, and it is, and I'll show you on the floor plans in a little bit how really just chunky and blocked up it is, and we're trying to rectify that. My company, we kind of pride ourselves of doing additions so it doesn't look like an addition's been made. It looks like it's supposed to be there all along. So this addition that's back here in the rear is actually a porch area currently that we're gonna, and I'll show you that in a second as well, that we're just covering and adding a second story to. So, and I'm sorry I brought big paper. I didn't realize I could make smaller stuff because this doesn't fit in my pocket very well. Yeah, that's right. So you can't really see it very well probably on your screen. The green area, these green lines here, are the existing house. So this, yep, this is going to be our master, no, sorry, this is the front of the house. This is the rear of the house. You can see that we're not increasing the actual footprint of the house on the first floor. The addition's on the second story back here. That's going to go above this area right here. We're taking this area, if you can see this line here, this is the kitchen currently, bumps up, goes over, so on and so forth. We're just taking and putting it on a straight line coming out and down to kind of just make that more uniform. Over here where we're doing the porta cochere, you can see this exterior wall comes out, up, down, over, up, down, back. We're just making it one continuous exterior wall there, and then building the porta cochere so they can have some covered parking to get into the house itself. As we all know, Florida rains. So I want to show a couple pictures of the surrounding houses. In that porta cocheres are pretty common in the Hyde Park area. We're proposing that we want to do a porta cochere that looks like it's supposed to be there, right? Something in the roof line is supposed to look like it's supposed to be there, as opposed to something like this. I hope that's nobody's house. No, gosh, that'd be horrible. No, that doesn't look good. Same thing over here, simple shed roof come off the side. We're going to try to do something that looks like it's supposed to be there, matches the surrounding areas. Some simple line drawings of what we're proposing. this gable on this end of the porte cochere, I'm not opposed to running it the opposite direction. If that makes the staff and the council members happier, we have no problem with that. But as you can see, it's just a simple, we're not changing any roof structure or any roof materials. We're sticking with shingles. We're sticking with 6-inch exposed lap siding. We're doing the exposed beam, the exposed rafters up top. Same column structures in the rear, they're on the front. Same thing on the porte cochere. The vents that match, all the brackets will all match, all the windows will match. Just, it's all matching, because that's what we like to do it. Here's some more colored elevations, basically saying the same thing. And on the other side. So this is our addition here that we're putting on the upstairs here. This is the patio that is currently there. All we're doing is covering this area and including this footprint vertically. Then extending this wall straight across as I have in all the dips and dives, and redoing the roof structure here that's got 16 different, that's an exaggeration, there's only 4, but still 4 different roof structures up there. God bless you, whoever that was. So here, basically calling out our materials, our 6-inch exposure lap siding, the 1x4 corner trim, just like on the regular house, the vent, the gable vent that matches the architectural shingles, 18-inch overhangs, the 6x6 columns wrapped with tapered wood to match the rest of the house, the Geldwin vinyl clad doors and windows. Basically, I made this same presentation about 3 months ago for a pool house on this same property and just kind of copied and pasted. So sorry if I look lazy. We'll do this one first. As Mr. Vila pointed out, here's the existing windows, the 6/0. Here's our detail, the Geldwin wood-clad single-hung windows, like what's on the house, the 1x4 vertical trim, 6-inch lap siding, the angle-cut window sills that are made out of wood. Here's our tapers for our columns to match the existing house. Basically, we're just putting an addition on that makes it look like just like everything else on the house. And in our wall sections, this shows the 1x4 band to kind of break up some of the massing on the second story. The lap siding, the Tongue and Grove beadboard on the bottom side, not on, because we have those exposed rafter tails to give the appearance that it's the old beadboard decking that runs all the way up the roof structure. Yeah. And that's all the big pieces of boards that I have. The client is the big part of this, I know, is going to be the porte cochere, the variance for the porte cochere. They're trying to just be able to get access to their home in a dry condition to be able to unload their vehicles. They have 2 small children, and they're just trying to be able to get away into their house without walking. Porte cochere here. They normally park their cars right here. Their front door is here. So they have to walk all the way around the front of their house to get inside their house. So we're just trying to give them a dry access to their home to be able to load and unload. And then the additions themselves are because they have elderly parents, and they believe that they're going to have their parents moving in with them in the next couple of years, so they want to add the additional space for their master bedroom. So that's really all I have.
Thank you very much. At this point, the staff will present the staff report for the variance.
So at this time, I would have Mr. Jones focus on the variance request. He had submitted initial responses to us, and then I had asked him to provide additional information, which I believe is in your staff report on page 5. So Mr. Jones, if you could go through that criteria at this time.
I'm gonna have to go off memory because I don't have one on me, but I know that it doesn't cause any harm to anyone else. It's unique in that we don't have an area to be able to put a single structure, an accessory structure in the back. Oh, thank you, Mr. Vila. Thank you. Hardship, practical difficulties, unique to the single. It is hardship. The hardship is unique to this property. Oh, I can use it. Never mind. To this property, in that we can't have an accessory structure in the rear because we can't get access to it because of previous construction. My applicant did not do the addition. There was the previous owners who built the addition on the back and squeezed the sidelines. So the current owner didn't cause the issue. I guess the previous owner did, or previous owners somewhere down the line. Substantial interfere, injury, health. It's not going to injure the health or safety of anyone or welfare of others involved. I believe that it is in harmony. As I showed you pictures of other houses within 2 blocks of the existing, or this property, there are porte cocheres that are there. Actually, the porte cocheres actually have the ability to go through 2 accessory structures in the rears, garages to be able to park in dry spaces, which we cannot. I believe that a substantial justice would be done. These people can't get in their home and stay dry when they unload their home or unload their cars. And again, I believe it's inconsistent with the design standards. Numerous homes. I've done probably 50 projects in Hyde Park, and 45 of them had porte cocheres already on the house. So yeah, there's porte cocheres everywhere in Hyde Park.
Thank you. Okay. At this point, we'll open the public hearing to any public comment. All right. Seeing and hearing none, the commissioners will now ask questions for the project.
And Kamaria Pettismackle from the City Attorney's Office, if we could just focus the questions on the variance.
I have no question.
I don't either.
May we see your site plan, please?
Sure.
Could the camera zoom in on the site plan? Thank you.
And wait, I'm sorry, am I allowed to say something? A quick note? No?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. We intentionally tried to push the porte cochere back as far as we could to get it off of the street so you wouldn't be able to notice it. This home is, there's a street that goes here, and it's a dead end. So there's their next door neighbor and another car. This being pushed back far enough, you wouldn't necessarily be able to see the porte cochere by traffic.
So, moving to the rear of the property, you're showing all kinds of lines. So there's the AC unit, and the AC unit sits on grass?
Yes, that's correct. Mm-hmm.
And then, if we can pan up, yeah. There, the backyard is sort of, is that all grass? Or what
This
are
is
your different
this is all
lines?
grass in here.
Okay.
This is brick, and then this is a concrete walkway through here.
Okay, I don't have any additional questions.
Do you have maybe a floor plan that has dimensions of that porte cochere?
No, but I can tell you that it's 9 feet to outside. It's from the house to here is 9 feet, and from here, from front to back is 25 feet.
Okay. So the intention really is, in the way it's designed right now, is you couldn't move those columns in anymore because that car would basically. Okay.
That is correct.
Okay.
And in other, I'm sorry.
No, you're
In other variances that I've gone through, not with the historics, just regular variances, I've gotten to a 0 lot line for my overhangs and eaves. So they normally let me, previously, a 6-inch setback for the columns, but a 0 setback for eaves and gutters to be able to get the water off the site.
There is currently no side entry to the house.
That is correct.
They're
That is correct.
parking on the side and walking to the front of the house.
That is correct, yes, ma'am.
Are there any additional questions for the variance?
No, sir.
Okay. At this point, the applicant is allowed 5 minutes for a rebuttal.
I don't know that I have anything to say. Thank you.
Okay. We'll be closing this portion of the public hearing, and then the commissioners will now discuss the case for the variance only. Would anyone like to start or have any comments?
I can. So I don't feel that this meets the hardship criteria. Not that your applicant created this issue, but someone along the way created this issue, and I don't feel that, you know, convenience is necessarily a hardship, so.
Any other comments?
I also struggle with a variance for a 0-foot encroachment for the portico share. I appreciate that they're adding the door, the side entry door. I think that will help with the program of the client, but I'm struggling with the hardship as well.
Mhm.
I too do not see hardship met in this case.
No further comments or questions about this. Would a commissioner like to make a motion regarding the variance?
I move that the variance request for ARC 20-183 for the property located at 1805 West Inman Avenue for the encroachment of 0 feet be denied due to the failure of the petitioner to meet the burden of proof with regard to the 6 hardship criteria set forth at section 27-114D of the City of Tampa ordinances, specifically that substantial justice would not be done if this were approved.
Second?
Do you understand okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those against? Motion passes. Thank you.
So commissioners, in moving forward with the certificate of appropriateness, the variance was independent. I believe the 2 other requests for the additions can move forward at this time. With the removal of the portico share, and if the certificate of appropriateness moves forward, I would put that into the motion, that wasn't part of the approval. Also, you could discuss the door on that vehicular access side, that could be part of the certificate of appropriateness moving forward. The additional concerns that staff had was the siding and the foundation connection, how the siding was gonna come down in the typical manner that's explored already, but I don't believe it was discussed. And then we had the agent provide additional documentation so you could understand the request. I would have them go through the wall section one more time to call out all the exterior materials, so we're comfortable if this request moves forward. Thank you.
Thank you. At this point, we'll open the public hearing to any public comment. Seeing and hearing none, the commissioners will now ask questions for the project for the CA portion.
I guess going along with staff, could you speak to the siding and foundation connection in the wall sections, please?
So here's the wall sections. We have our, let's see. We have our siding with a 6-inch, this is hardy lap siding we're proposing to do on the additions with a 6-inch exposure. We have a 1x10 band trim between the two to break up the massing between the first and second floor. Like I said, we have our 2x sill with our window details that all the trim matches. This is our existing, this is our proposed to make sure all of our trims match.
Also, could you explain what kind of door is on the rear of the building that you're proposing?
These 5 doors right here are the existing glass doors that are wood, and we're going to match them upstairs.
Thank you.
Is that the same condition for the new side door?
That's correct. It's going to match the front. Yes, ma'am. Sorry, yes, they're all glass slab doors. Yes, ma'am.
Is the existing foundation enclosure and structure the same as what you presented in that previous wall sections?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
for the entire,
Yes. Yeah, we're not. Yeah. Yes.
So basically, the existing addition, the 2-story appendage to the original building, the original bungalow, that is a slab on grade.
That is correct.
Thank you.
I don't have a
Sir,
question.
if you could please, I see you've explained the doors to us. I see windows here that are shown on this elevation that are 1/1 pane, but you made a presentation of multi-pane windows. So that's the actual intent.
It's happening.
Yes, it's happening right now. Sorry.
Okay,
Yes,
it's
sorry.
happening before our very eyes.
Yes, sorry.
Thank
Yes.
you very much.
if you could you go to what would be, I believe, the west elevation? With the porte-cochere not on that portion of the building, will any of the design or elevation change?
Yes. So this wall here will, hang on. So our current wall runs along here and then dips down and then comes back up and across. So this wall right here all will be new. We have differentiating roof heights outside, so we're trying to get a singular roof height all the way across.
Okay, so if you could go back to that 3D elevations
Yep.
and models that you have. So, and it's the top right image.
This one?
No, the top
Oh,
right.
I'm sorry, top right, sorry.
So you'll have the banding that kind of comes along the second floor.
Mhm.
That's gonna, well, hold on.
Oh.
Okay. So that's gonna die at the corner of the 2-story?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, and then where does that 2-story corner piece,
So this
Terminate.
is the existing house now.
okay?
We're not going to do anything with this. This existing house stops right here.
Right.
So we're just going to pick up that banding and go back and run around the backside.
So I guess my question is,
Uh-huh.
and it might just be the way it's modeled, does that corner trim on the 2-story, does that come down at all into the first level?
No, it does not.
Okay. All right, and then, so if you will not be adding that porte-cochere there, the only thing that you're going to be doing is putting that door? Besides kind of,
Yes. No, this wall here gets rebuilt because right now, like I said, it dives in 12 inches and then comes back out. So we will be rebuilding this wall right here to make it uniformed all the way across.
is there any consideration been given to either windows along that wall, so that way it's not, because it looks like there's a single one in the front and then 2 in the back, but then kind of between that entire length, it's pretty open?
So I'm sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you. Oops, upside down. This is the wall we're talking about. This is a shower,
Okay.
their laundry room, and a kitchen, and then it jumps back into the living room, which this is an existing wall here. So I don't know if I could add any windows in a,
Okay.
That new wall it runs from the ground to the roof line, correct?
correct, yes.
So you will have trim pieces at both of those two
These
bottom
corners, yeah, this corner here and this corner here.
that will run all the way up.
Correct, yes.
That's what
Mhm.
we're asking.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood. Yes.
You're fine. All right. Any additional questions?
I do have one respecting this access door into your laundry room.
Mhm.
Now at this point where the porte cochere is a moot point, would you consider putting in some sort of an awning or a covering over that door to protect that from the weather?
That would be beneficial, yes. I saw earlier on the gentleman's presentation at the first one that he had an overhang that was about 6 feet off the modern one, the very first one you guys talked about, had about a 6-foot overhang. Is that acceptable? I don't know.
I would,
If
I
it's
would,
within your setback, that's not an issue.
Okay, okay.
as long as the characteristics of it matches the
The house.
building, you know, we
Yeah.
wouldn't want to put a modern metal canopy
Right.
on this, yes.
I can't imagine why.
Any additional questions?
Not for me, thank you very much.
Okay. At this point, the applicant is allowed 5 minutes for a rebuttal.
No, I think what we're going to do with the house is going to make it actually look better and more usable as opposed to cut up and blocked up space. So it's going to make it look a lot nicer from the outside as opposed to being, oh, look, here's the original house, here's an addition, here's another addition, here's another addition. So that's it, that's all.
Thank you. At this point, we will be closing the public hearing, and the commissioners will now discuss the case for the certificate of appropriateness. Anyone like to make a comment?
I do not have any issues.
If that's the case, would anyone like to make a motion?
Just a general comment, sir. Considering that this design as a whole is brought to us with not only the 2 additions, but also with the porte cochere, which has basically been shot down by the previous approvals. Do we want to do this as an item with conditions?
Yes.
Where we strike from the design presented tonight, the porte cochere
Right.
portion of the additions?
Right, Kamaria Pettisnacker from the legal department, that variance has already been denied.
That's correct.
So what your question is, should you put that as a condition, should you,
Well,
that's a separate
The
issue.
whole design package has got a 3-part addition, and we're only approving 2 of those additions.
Okay, so you could put a condition on your certificate of appropriateness if you want, to
Thank
address which additions you are approving.
Thank you.
I move to grant a certificate of appropriateness for the drawings and documents presented at this public hearing, ARC 20-183, for the property located at 1805 West Inman Avenue, with the following conditions: that the portico shown on the drawings is removed, and any awning over the side access door is worked through with staff. Because based upon the finding of fact, the proposed project is consistent with the Hyde Park Historic District design guidelines for the city of Tampa for the following reasons. The scale, massing, and alignment are consistent.
Second.
And then, do you understand the conditions as they've been stated? Yes. All those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion passes. Thank you.
Could we have 5 minutes?
Yes, we're going to take a quick 5-minute recess, and then we'll be back. Thank you. case will be ARC 20-283.
which is for the address of 613 South Oregon Avenue. The primary structure is a contributing structure that dates back to 1921. The zoning is RS 50. I would ask that the commissioners, for ease of moving forward, to break this next application up. They're asking for a certificate of appropriateness for a demolition of a contributing accessory structure. I would take that item first. The information in the ordinance that deals with the demolition criteria is attached to your staff report. You could follow along through the presentation. If that request is granted, then I would move forward for the certificate of appropriateness for new construction for an accessory structure, and then move forward. And then lastly, they're asking for a certificate of appropriateness also for a small addition of 47 square feet to the primary structure. And with that addition, there's a variance attached to that. So I would take it in three parts. I would do the demolition first. I would do the certificate of appropriateness for the new construction for the accessory structure. And then lastly, I would do the certificate of appropriateness with the variance attached to it. Having said that, moving to the Sanborn. Once again, this is from 1929. Shows the fabric along Swan Avenue as well. Currently, as you go down Oregon, this will be the first house. This is where Hyde Park Village is currently today, and I'll show you in my next slide. But this is the fabric along the street. There is an alley that runs north and south behind this. This is the existing contributing accessory structure, and they're going to present their case to you in a minute. Moving to the overhead. Shows a portion of Hyde Park Village here along the block. To the south, this is Oregon, and this is the alley that runs behind the accessory structure. There are some trees that flank the property to the south. It's a craftsman style bungalow, which is well maintained. This is the front elevation. As you go down to the side elevation, that has the fireplace, which is here. And then moving to the south elevation, this is the parking for Hyde Park Village and looking back into the site. I'd like to show some of the details of the house as you move along. Once again, the casing, you see how the siding is applied under the casing, and you see the shadow lines. See the band board. This is a unique detail that the header dies into that band board. The outrigger and the rafter tails, and then the fascia board. Shows how the outriggers pierce through the fascia board. Showing how the siding almost runs all the way down to grade. And then moving to the gable portion. This is one gable vent. This is the gable vent on the second floor. This was the gable vent on the first floor. Providing a photo essay of the surrounding properties. This is to the north. This is the back of Hyde Park Village and showing some of the parking. This is the rear of the primary structure, showing the tree. You saw the canopy in a previous shot, showing how some of the structural limbs come across. This is the structure that's coming forward for demolition. This is off the alley. This is just a closer shot of that structure, showing the access off the alley and some of the challenges that the structure has in its current condition. At this time, I'll have the agent address the board.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the Architectural Review Commission. My name is John Grandoff, and I'm at the Hill, Ward & Henderson firm, and I'm representing Cindy Smamey this evening. Cindy is here, and to my right. Cindy, would you please raise your hand? I'm also joined this evening by our associate, Ms. Jamie Mayer, who's going to present the applications to you this evening. But I simply want to tell you that this home was built in 1921. It is a remarkable home that Cindy has kept in excellent condition since then. However, we have an obsolete garage that is way overdue for demolition, and that'll be the demolition application you'll hear this evening. Second, Cindy will replace that garage with a detached garage for your certificate of appropriateness on that garage. And finally, we'll consider a variance this evening, a very nominal variance, in order to update a home that has been existing since 1921, bring it into modern times and make it more homely and, home-like and more functional for Cindy. So without further discussion, I'd like to introduce Jamie, and she'll present the applications this evening. Thank you.
And if we would like to combine our time. We can discuss it in the order that Ron recommended, and then I have it up for vote, but we'd like to combine the time for all of the different items, if that's okay, just to make the presentation flow a little better.
Commissioners, after consultation with legal, for the demolition, she'll get 30 minutes to move forward. I don't believe she's gonna need that much time, but there'll be individual 30 minutes for that. And then moving forward to the certificate of appropriateness for new construction, she'll get an additional 30 minutes for that part of the request. And then lastly, for the certificate of appropriateness for the addition and the variance, there's a 40-minute minutes tag to that request as well.
Don't worry, everybody, I can probably do it all in 30. It's good to know that I have the time. Check, okay. So, as John explained, there's 4 requests up. You know, we've got the demolition of the contributing structure, which I'm gonna show a lot of photos of to really meet the burden of proof there, because it's a glorified shed, as I've heard it called. And I think you'll agree, there's a new construction of a 2-car garage in its place. And then we're gonna have a new construction of an addition to the primary structure, which is gonna be a laundry room. And then the variance is in relation to that. I think we've already gotten a lot of the background. I just think the most important part to focus on with respect to the surrounding area is to the north here, so this is the subject property, and to the north here is Miss Elizabeth McElhaney. That's her primary residence, and of course this is Miss Maney's primary residence. Miss McElhaney is separated by a tall, opaque wooden fence. The 2 properties are completely separated. You really can't even see, you can't see at all into each other's windows. Can't really even see the top of the first floor elevation of each other's properties. So with respect to the demolition of the contributing structure, the burden of proof, I think, is best met by a visual kind of photo essay, if you will. But the most important part to understand is this garage structure is dilapidated beyond rehabilitation or relocation. It's rotting, it's prone to flooding, it's infested with termites. It's too narrow for a modern vehicle. I will show the measurements a little bit later. It's a kind of a parking space, if you will. I mean, it's like a compact parking space. You can't open your doors, you can't load, you can't let your dog in the car. You can shimmy out of the car, but it's nothing that you would want to use as an actual garage. And the existing garage structure, the setback, it's almost all the way up against the boundary line, and so as you'll see in some of the photos later, that makes it really difficult, if you even could park in it, to maneuver out of it because of its proximity to another structure I think is on Miss McElhaney's property. It creates a blind spot, so it's really pretty non-functional as a garage. As far as the economic hardship, in the interest of time, we submitted into the record on Acela a full assessment of the criteria, but I think the most important to focus on is this is a loss of a usable portion of the property. Clearly, it's intended to be a place for the homeowner to park their car. That's the place where you would park your car, but you can't. And so, it can't be rehabilitated, it can't be relocated. It's a safety hazard. Not only is it expensive to keep it from falling apart at this point, and to keep the flooding and the termites at bay, but those are also a threat to the primary structure. So it's, not only is it a threat to itself, but it's a threat to the home as well. And Miss Maney has been parking her car on Oregon Avenue when she can. She bought the house in 2015, and she's had her car struck 3 times by people visiting Hyde Park Village, which I'm sure is not surprising at all if you know that little intersection there. Maybe even by scooters, who knows? So here, sorry. Okay, so this is just the first of many photos. You can see the gutters are falling apart. There's water damage along here. I have a closer up that you can see the color's a little washed out here, but most of the bottom 2 boards on all sides are molding. You can see where the water damage has really just taken over. Pretty much everywhere you can see the wood is peeling, and the siding is rotting, and sure, maybe siding can be replaced, but you'll see on the inside, it's not just the siding, it's the whole thing. And there's a few better angles, but each of these foundational beams are rotting at the bottom. So here's another, you can really see here how these foundational beams, how the trim of the door, and that door does not look like an original door to me. And it also doesn't shut, it doesn't lock, so it's also itself not functional. Again, you can see here all of this rotting wood, and you can also see the gutters here, that they're just not working. The inside of the garage is a patchwork of Band-Aids, maybe like structural Band-Aids. I'm not really sure what these what's going on here. It's a feature, not a bug. And you've got these weird siding things here. I'll show you a close-up of this electrical system, we'll call it. You've got, I don't know, I think that's insulation spilling out here. Basically, it's a mess. Here's a close-up of some of the mold here. I don't know what that is. This actually, and I'll show you later, this takes up a portion of the wiggle room that you would have in the garage, because believe it or not, these stick out a couple inches and this sticks out another 1.5 inches. I measured it. There you're losing some wiggle room for the entire car. So here's the width. It's big enough to fit a bike and an inflatable shark on a chair. It's just over 9 feet in width. I also measured it, which you can't open your doors fully because of the fact that you're losing a lot of the wiggle room with these little things here. The door itself, sure, it's a single car garage door. It's 8 feet in width, but the issue is it really is pretty much the exact width of the garage structure itself. So once you drive your car in there, you have no room to maneuver around. You have no room to open your doors. You've got about 7 inches on either side of wiggle room, so you can picture how you would open your door there and be loading and unloading groceries. Again, here is the frame of the garage door. It's beyond repair, and here's just, again, with the mold, and it's nasty. Here is the structure I was talking about, and I have another angle that you can see. I think you also saw it in Ron's photos, but the point here is that you can't, backing out here, not only do you have to back straight out because of the fact that you have no wiggle room, but this causes, a blind spot, and you could easily hit these trash cans or this structure here. So, and there's no paved driveway, which is something that we're going to be remedying. So the whole situation this is why we're calling it a shed, because it's really not a garage. Here you can see again, this is actually an angled fence, so there's not even a whole fence length away. See, it's angled here. So it's probably about 1 foot away from the boundary line. It's insufficient maneuvering room, and there's this blind spot here. So we are fairly sure that this garage structure meets the burden of proof for why it should no longer exist. And it also doesn't even look like the rest of the house, and you'll see in our materials that we're proposing for the new construction, it's going to look just like the house. It's actually going to have the craftsman style features that the house has, whereas you can see the structure is yellow. It doesn't match the color of the house. It doesn't have any nice architectural features. The roof isn't even the same. So as I'll show you in the materials that we're going to use later on, we're going to have a much nicer structure in its place. So I've zoomed in on the site plan here, although I'm going to show the whole site plan later, but just to avoid confusion, you can see the outline of the existing structure here, which is getting removed. You can see how close it is to the boundary line. Well, so we're going to have the required 3-foot setback with the new structure. We're also going to have the transportation code required 10-foot back out room So not only are we going this way, but we're also going to have this, required back out room, so it's going to be a functional garage, functional driveway. The structure itself is going to be 15 feet or less in height from grade to ridge, so no design exceptions required there. Everything is to code, and we've had confirmed from Natural Resources there's no issue with the 32-inch grand tree on the southwest side of the property. So here we have our elevations. You can see, as I was saying, we're going to have this, features like this decorative gable brace that matches the same things that you see on the side of the house. There's going to be a scored concrete driveway and apron, so it'll look really nice, and it will, even though it's in the alley, it's still going to look very nice. We're going to have a door on the left side instead of the way it is in the front, and of course the door is actually going to be pretty nice as opposed to that plywood, like apartment style door. And then, let's see here. So here are the wall sections. Our contractors are here if you would like to ask more technical questions about these. I am a lawyer and I don't know what this means. Here is the actual garage plan. Like I said, the door is going to be here, but it's going to be within the fence boundary. So the door is still going to be within the backyard, but it's just not going to be here like it was in the old shed. It's going to be a 2-car garage. You can see that they're already accommodating for wiggle room that you need to open your doors, but it's also going to be twice as big. I'm going to discuss the materials in connection after I discuss the new addition to the primary structure of the laundry room, because it's going to be the same siding, same trim and everything. So I'm just going to talk about that at once. So this is part of the site plan where we're going to be adding this laundry room bump out. The home, as John pointed out, it was built in 1921. I don't know if they had washers or dryers back then, probably not. And they certainly wouldn't have contemplated the big washers and dryers that we have now in our homes. So the current location of the washer and the dryer is an afterthought. They're stacked, crammed into a pantry. I've seen it. It's in the kitchen. No offense, Cindy, it's really weird. And there's no room for folding. You have to take the laundry out, set it on the bed or on the kitchen table or wherever you like. There's nowhere to store an ironing board or anything like that. So it's really not conducive to doing laundry. And I think that probably when she bought the house, that was sold to her as the laundry room, and it's not. It's a pantry. The location, as I'll discuss later, especially in respect to the variance, the location of this proposed bump out for the laundry room is the only feasible place in the house for the laundry room for a number of reasons, including the grand oak in the southwest corner of the property. So here are elevations. On the north side facing Miss McLaney's home, if she could see it, which she can't because of the fence, but if she could, she would see that there is going to be a window here so that it's consistent with the fact that there's windows along this side of the house. There won't be windows on either side of the front or rear elevations, which is consistent with, and I'll discuss later, an existing bump out on the other side of the house, which doesn't have that. So again, wall sections. So here's the pantry that she's currently got the washer and dryer shoved into. So the actual size of this bump out is going to be 47 square feet total. It's very small. It's pretty much the minimum that you would want for a laundry room. There's room to walk in, turn around, fold your clothes, use the dryer and washer, but that's about it. And part of what we're proposing is within the existing footprint of the house. So it's 47 square feet under roof, part of which is in the existing footprint. So for the materials, I've mostly taken photos of the existing house because it's going to match both the garage and the laundry room addition. So you're going to have the exposed rafter tails on both, which I think is going to make the garage look way better than it does currently, or than the one that's there. Rafters and soffit, all of this is going to be the same. We're going to use Hardy Plank, the Colonial Smooth siding, in a color that matches the house for both the garage and the laundry room. The roof material is also going to be the same, this dimensional shingle, and actually this is the bump out on the other side, so this is actually kind of like what the bump out's going to look like, where you've got the different direction for the roof where they connect. The only window is the one that's going to be on the north elevation. It's going to match the existing windows, double hung, same trim. Trim everywhere on the additions and in the garage is going to match the existing. It's just going to be hardy trim. And the foundation for the bump out will match the existing foundation. And this is actually the foundation that is on the corner of the house that the bump out is going to come out of. So this is a good place to actually show the foundation slab on grade. This is for the garage specifically. Gonna have a 6-panel door. It's going to be white. Clopay classic steel 2-car garage door. It's got the nice window features. I think the other garage door didn't have anything like that, but this is kind of a Craftsman style. And then the hardware for the door and the lighting, those are only going to be on the garage. There's not going to be any lighting or hardware on the laundry room bump out. So these are just for the garage, and they're Craftsman style as well. I'm going to pull this to the side because this is helpful to just have. So I would like to discuss the variance, which is, you've seen this photo before. The variance is for the bump out. It's reducing the north side setback from 7 feet to 5 feet to accommodate this part here. So this is the only place on site, and I'll show you the site plan kind of to show you what I'm talking about. But I also would like to point out the fact that Ms. McLaney, who is the only resident, the only neighbor who would be directly affected by this variance, she has expressed her support for the variance and has written a letter to express her support here. It's very short, so she's reviewed the site plans and the drawings, and she supports the project, including the variance. And as I'll show you in the photos, she's completely buffered by the existing fence. So the goal of this variance, the goal of this laundry room, is to modernize the interior of this home while preserving the historic character and the historic exterior to the maximum extent possible, and in fact, enhancing it and being consistent with the existing style of this particular house. The existing laundry area, as I pointed out, is an afterthought, but this is the only feasible location because it's, one, where the water hookups currently are, and two, more importantly, there's a grand tree here, which the canopy expands around this, pretty much this entire southwest portion of the property. So even if we couldn't put a bump out here because it could start butting up against that tree. And also, even if the tree wasn't there, the AC pad and other mechanical stuff is on this side of the house. And here is the existing bump out. As you can see, it's also very close to this concrete barrier here on the south boundary of the house. So this kind of shows that it's within the character of this particular house to have a bump out, and it's also within the character of a Craftsman style home to have that. And to have here the reduced setback, just like what we're proposing here. In addition, with the wood deck, we wouldn't want to put it here because then we would have an irregular layout, and we would encroach into the character of the deck, which is a very nice feature of the home, and it's a very classic, historic feature of the home. With respect to the variance criteria, because of the existing tree on the property, the existing bump out, and the location of the decks and the fences on the property, this is a unique issue to the property. And of course, Ms. Smaney did not create this. This house was built in 1921, and the tree looks like it's really big. I have a picture of it. I don't know how you can tell how old a tree is, but I'm quite sure it's been there for a very long time. This is not going to adversely affect any other historic properties in part because it's going to look good and it's going to be within the character of the district, but also because of the fence buffer. So you've got the buffer from Ms. McLaney's home, which is the neighbor, and then in the front, facing Oregon Avenue, where it fronts Oregon Avenue, is also that fence there. So anybody on the right-of-way is really not going to be able to see the bump out because it's towards the back of the house, and there's a fence, which I'll show you in a photo. It's designed to complement and be consistent with the character of the home. It brings the home up to modern standards while maintaining the character, and it's minimal. It's 47 square feet, and as I said, a large portion of it is within the existing footprint of the home. substantial justice is done by this, because if you balance the fact that we're preserving the home, we're enhancing the historic character of the home, we're asking for a minimal size, the existing buffers buffer the neighbor who would be most directly affected, who also is in support of this, and anybody else passing along the right-of-way, balanced with the fact that there's no other location to modernize this home due to the existing conditions. This weighs in favor of granting this variance request. And as far as the design standards go, with respect to my certificate of appropriateness presentation, you know, we're basically, it's going to look like the house. The house itself is consistent. I can go through, I'm happy to answer questions about any of the criteria. I think those are in Ron's staff report, if I'm not mistaken. So we're confident that we meet the variance criteria. And I'll show you a few photos. Why do I have that twice? Here's an aerial that I took from Google Maps, so it's a little hard to see, but here's the fence, and I kind of put a little circle around it. Here's the fence between the two homes. As you can see, the fence also goes this way. So this is why if you're on the right-of-way, you also won't be able to see it, really. And then here is if I'm standing in the backyard facing towards Oregon Avenue, you can see the fence here, the fence along here. The bump out would go basically in this area, and Miss McLaney's home is on the other side of these shrubs. Nice here. Here's a different angle. So this is me standing on the other side looking into the backyard. There's the garage. The bump out would go here. And you can see how tall this fence is. You can't even see the lower elevation, the first floor of Miss McLaney's home. You can only see this. So it's going to come out here, and it's going to be basically like looking still at the fence. And then this is, as you can see, how tall this fence is on the outside. So if you're on the sidewalk or on the right-of-way, the bump out's going to be all the way in the back. It's not going to be very obvious. And again, it's small, so it's going to come out a couple of feet. You already saw these elevations. Sorry about that. Here's the grand oak. It's really a nice tree. And so as you can see, the canopy really extends over this whole portion of the property. And then here's the AC pad, as I was discussing. And here is the existing bump out. So you can see with the overhangs and the bump out how close it is to this wall, which itself extends actually pretty close, but the boundary line is here. It's right along the wall. So this is kind of a lot like what we were proposing to do. Same, situation with the roof and the way everything matches, but you can tell that it's a bump out. You can tell that it's not, original part of the home probably, but so that's, our proposal is in line with that, but it's also in a less intrusive part of the home by being all the way in the back and being a lot smaller. Well, and that's all I got. So.
Could you go through the variance and hardships,
Mm-hmm.
just for the record? Thank you.
Do you want me to read them out? Because I went through some of our answers to them, but do you want me to read out them by title or?
Yes, if you could just go through the 6.
Sure. Okay. So, number 1, the alleged hardships are unique and singular. So as I said, the home is a contributing structure. It's been well preserved, but from a layout perspective, it's not configured with modern appliances in mind. The only location on the property where we could put this is where we have proposed it, because there is the grand oak tree in the southwest corner, which takes up a large part of that. The existing porch configuration means that we can't put it directly on the front or the back of the house, and of course we wouldn't put it on the front of the house. The fences on the property cut off a certain part of where you can build on the house because of the fact that the fences basically run through it in the front. And the existing water utility connections, because of where the washer and dryer currently are, mean that if you put it somewhere else, you would have to run utilities through there and change up the whole structure. So the way that the property itself is configured really forces this area that we've selected. 2, the hardship does not result from the actions of the applicant. That's, as somebody pointed out earlier, a pretty easy one to meet in a historic preservation district. Ms. Maney purchased it as it was. The variance will not substantially interfere with or injure the health, safety, or welfare of others whose property would be affected. Ms. McLaney is the one who would be affected. Not only does does the fence buffer her from being affected? She's in full support of the variance as proposed. So it's not going to injure the health, safety, or welfare of her, certainly. She thinks it's a good idea. And anybody else who might be across the street or just passing through the area is not really going to see the bump out because of the fact that there's a fence in the front of the house as well. Sorry, I'm a mess over here. Number 4, the variance is in harmony with and serves the intent and purpose of this chapter and the comprehensive plan. This is a historic preservation district. The purpose is to preserve these houses. People live in them, so they've been preserved, they've been rehabilitated in a lot of cases. This is bringing the property up to modern standards while proposing the smallest kind of amount of space that we could take up on the house for this facility. So we're preserving the house, we're contributing to the character of the house, we're consistent with the character of the house, and it serves the purpose of the district. 5, allowing the variance will result in substantial justice being done, considering the public benefits and practical difficulties. Well, the public benefit intended to be secured, of course, here is preservation of a contributing structure. And not only will we not be diminishing the historic character of the property, but we will be enhancing it because this having a bump out is clearly in line with this particular house as well as with the style of the house as a whole. The size is minimal. It's only 47 square feet. The variance is minimal. It's 2 feet, and there's a reduced setback on the other side as well, so it's going to make sense with the existing property. The practical difficulty of having nowhere else in the house for a modern laundry system because of the grand tree, the porches, the existing bump out on the other side, and the outdated configuration of the house weigh in favor of granting this request. Finally, it will allow development, if granted, that is consistent with the design standards and compatible with the historic pattern of development in the area, since we're not proposing any metal features or weird windows or anything like that. I think, unless you have any specific questions, it looks to me as though it's in line with the character of the house and the character of the craftsman style of the house that you see throughout Hyde Park. And the materials we selected are, of course, appropriate because they're going to match the house.
Thank you.
Yep.
At this point, staff will present the staff report.
Commissioners, Ron Vila, staff for Historic Preservation. Can we go to the overhead, please? I failed to mention in my brief photo presentation that there is no curb cut from the primary street, so all vehicular access is off the alley. So currently, if she wants to park in the front, she has to parallel park like all the other residents on the block and or visitors to Hyde Park Village. As our introduction into this, I would focus on the demolition of the contributing accessory structure. The agent went through the presentation and it is attached to your staff report, so I would focus on that and see if there's any additional questions to the burden of proof or the economic hardship that's attached at this time.
Thank you. At this point, we will open the hearing to any public comment in relationship to the demolition. Seeing and hearing none, the commissioners will now ask questions regarding the demolition portion. Would anyone like to ask questions, or does anyone have questions?
I don't have any questions.
I have no question.
I have no question.
Okay. Well, the applicant is allowed 5 minutes for a rebuttal.
I have no rebuttal.
Okay. We'll close this portion of the public hearing, and then the commissioners will now discuss the case.
Can I make a motion? I think
Is
the
anyone-
demolition's pretty straightforward.
Okay. In that case, yes, you can.
I move to grant a certificate of appropriateness to demolish for ARC 20-283 for the property located at 613 South Oregon Avenue, in as much as the agent has satisfied the requirements of Chapter 27, Section 27-116F of the City of Tampa Code of Ordinances.
A second.
I second that motion.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Against? All right, motion passes. Thank you.
The next item for review is the certificate of appropriateness for new construction for the accessory structure. Staff had some concerns with the approach for the apron from the alley to the vehicular access, and they provided the scoring that's appropriate to the district in one of their photos. And then the additional response is that all the trim details will match the primary structure. And that concludes this portion.
Thank you. We'll open the hearing again to public comment. Anyone like to speak for or against? All right, seeing none. The commissioners will now ask questions for the CA of the new accessory structure. Does anyone have?
I do have a question respecting that. It's a larger structure and a slightly different position on the site. What is happening to the existing fence that surrounds the site and is in some fashion attached to the structure itself? Is that all going to be brand new? Is that going to be tinkered? Is it going to be repaired? That was not properly addressed.
If you could come up to the podium and state your name. Thank you.
The existing fence will stay where it is. We're actually
Hold on one second.
Excuse me.
Kamaria Pettis-Mackel from the legal department. Can the gentleman just verify whether or not he's been sworn to speak?
Oh, sworn?
Have you been sworn to speak already?
No, I can't hardly hear you. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. All right, you can.
Let's talk fence.
Well,
Right.
Yeah.
Steve Lynch. The existing fence on the side, see the garage is encroaching now, the existing garage. We're gonna move it over to the appropriate setback. That fence will stay where it is. Then we'll just make a connection at the back to connect the fence, and the same way on the other side there. The fence will just be connected to the garage.
So whatever you end up replacing or extending on that existing fence will match the existing. There's no change.
There's no change, basically, yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I don't have any questions.
Nor do I.
I don't have any additional questions as well. At this point, the applicant is allowed 5 minutes for a rebuttal again to the CA portion for the accessory structure.
No rebuttal.
Okay. We'll close this portion of the public hearing, and the commissioners will now discuss the case. Would anyone like to discuss the case, or is anyone ready to make a motion?
Move to grant a certificate of appropriateness for drawings and documents presented at this public hearing, ARC 20-83 for the property located at 613 South Oregon Avenue, because based upon the finding of fact, the proposed project is consistent with the Hyde Park Historic District design guidelines of the city of Tampa for the following reasons. The accessory structure matches the scale, massing, orientation, and facade and materials represented in the historic district.
I second the motion.
And then just for the record, do you have any questions, or do you approve? Or there wasn't any conditions, but. Oh,
Boy. Approve.
thank you. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All against? Motion passes. Thank you.
So moving down the items that were requested for 613 South Oregon. Now I would venture into the variance hardship that was submitted and read into the record and have a discussion at this time.
Thank you. I'm going to open the public hearing again for any public comment. Seeing and hearing none, the commissioners will now ask questions for the variance. Do any of my fellow commissioners have questions?
No, sir.
No questions.
I have one question. Was there any consideration to look at a laundry room that could fit within the existing setbacks that didn't need this variance?
I mean, I think the issue is what we've currently got is the pantry. And so the dimensions of the washer and dryer, I guess, that she has, can fit here. I mean, it's, oh. Okay, thank you. Again, it's very small, and we're using, you know, the footprint here that exists, but it's kind of like the minimum that she could use as a laundry room. I mean, I've seen houses with whole rooms as laundry rooms, and this is kind of more of a laundry cubby where you walk in and you can turn around. I think it's the functionality of it to be able to have a room if she's going to add on a room, to have a room where she can fold clothes, do everything like iron, turn around, take things out of the washer and dryer. It's just for functionality's sake.
Okay. And
The-
if you,
None of that is going to be on the record. That's,
yeah, if there's anything that you would like to have on the record, if you could just please come up to the podium. Otherwise, it just, unfortunately, we can't hear it or include it.
Do you have an existing floor plan of the first floor?
I don't think we do. Do we have an existing floor plan? No, I don't think we do. We just have the site plan. If you'd like, I don't know, that's very helpful. I can kind of describe it to you if you'd like, but.
Are there any other additional questions? Okay. At this point, the applicant is allowed 5 minutes for rebuttal for the variance portion. All right. We'll close this portion of the public hearing, and the commissioners will now discuss the variance portion of the case.
Again, I think this is more of a convenience factor than a hardship. I definitely understand, you know, with older homes, some of the modern conveniences are a little challenging, but I do think on the site that they do have other opportunities to place a little pop-out within the setback. So I would not support this.
Any other commissioners would like to discuss?
Not I.
Okay. Would anyone like to make a motion?
I will move that.
We'd request to continue for 30 days.
Okay.
okay.
Thank you.
And will the board please, are you going to consider the request for the continuance?
Sure.
Yes.
Move that the variance request, and I'm sorry, maybe staff can help us out on when the date will be scheduled for the next.
Good evening, Commissioners. Dennis Fernandez, Architectural Review and Historic Preservation Manager. If you're going to be making a continuance motion, we would request that that go to September the 14th, 2020 at 6 p.m.
And that's for the variance of the
Got it.
I'll make a motion to move that the variance request for ARC 2283 located at 613 South Oregon Avenue for an addition within the side setback with an encroachment of 2 feet, I believe it was, to be continued to the September 14th, 2020 ARC meeting at 6 p.m. to allow the petitioner or staff to gather more information. The information that we are requesting is, I guess, additional information that can be provided by the applicant as to the hardship.
I
Is there a
second the motion.
Okay, thank you.
All right. And then do you understand the motion as was mentioned?
Yes.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion passes. Thank you.
At this time, and that concludes the presentation for ARC 20-283, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Can Mr. Chair please take a 5-minute recess?
We're going to take a quick 5-minute recess, and then we'll be back. Thank you.
Thank you.